Good morning to all. Former Prince Andrew got stripped of his title from his own brother, King Charles, for his involvement with tomfoolery regarding Jeffrey Epstein. I'm gonna keep it honest with you today. I don't think Jeffrey Epstein never got choked out in no jail cell. I don't think he's me personally, I don't think Jeffrey Epstein is dead. Not because any pictures I've seen of him roaming around in Israel. I didn't think he was dead before that. Let's start from the beginning so this is a little bit more coherent. The WEF, World Economic Forum, and the United Nations, they came up with a plan to transition the world into the next dispensation. And I guess they figured with the right project management, this thing could take like 10 years, right? So the whole thing was to have these goals set in place to meet these goals by the year 2030. But let's keep it real. A lot of these goals are not what or people are used to, right? So we're getting rid of one culture and we moving into a next, which means change, which means people are not going to be okay with change. People are usually not okay with change. I can tell you that from experience, working as IT manager in schools and stuff like that. And when you introduce the new tools that we're going to use to move forward, teachers flip out, they bugging out, like, oh, I'm not good with technology. There's all type of excuses, right? So people are not going to be on board. So I think, me personally, I think some distractions had to be set in place. Some distractions had to be set in place so that we can get all the way to the year 2030 with no problem. Well, with minimum problems. So, with that being said, I believe there's a bunch of I believe there's mass distraction going on right now. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. What up? What up with it? What up with it? Let's have a serious conversation today, right? I usually hold back because, quite frankly, you know, I hold back for a couple of reasons. Some people not ready to handle the cold, hard truth. And then sometimes YouTube don't want you to really speak that transparent. So my channel end up in trouble because I was being too transparent. But today we're going to go all out. Whatever, right? I haven't even been up here, so it don't matter to me. I'm working on a new project I'm not even up here on YouTube like that. So let's just put it all out there. So shout out to everybody that's just coming in. What we were saying before was there's mass distraction for a reason. It's not mass distraction for no reason. It's mass distraction for a reason. Because as we can see, things are changing and things are changing fast, right? We have mass surveillance going down. If you don't believe me, you can go to New York. Shout out to Queens, New York. I think Queens, New York was probably the first city that I seen that just overloaded on cameras, right? And you couldn't fart in the dark in Queens without you getting a fine. Like, yo, you know, we believe in the ecosystem here. Our cameras show you was passing gas. We're going to have to fine you for that, doc. We're going to have to fine you. Yeah. We understand this. Yeah, you had to do what you had to do, and we got to do what we got to do. We got to fine you. And the neighbor said it smelled kind of horrible, so we're going to have to up that fine, too. Yeah. Little 250. Stop crying. Little 250 ain't nothing. Right? Yo, Queens was bugging. I hated driving in Queens. Queens was the first city I seen where they had a moving Jeep, and the dude used to park up, and on top of his Jeep was a speed sensor, and it would just catch you coming down the street, right? But he could move. If you got used to him being there, he would just move somewhere else. I said, oh, Queens is bugging. But it didn't take long for all the other cities to catch on. They not doing it like Queens to this day, but they doing it pretty hard. Manhattan is giving a runner up for everybody's money. Manhattan is just throwing easy passes right in the middle of the city. Like, yo, you want to come past 24th? Yeah, that'd be an extra $9. I didn't know. Yeah. You said you was coming to the city. I didn't know you got to be more clear next time. You like, yo, that wasn't in my budget. Yeah, but if you going down to Chelsea, we got to charge you because, quite frankly, your poor ass don't belong down there. You understand? Now, this is the beginning of what they call smart cities. You have to understand. Pay attention as I talk, right? This is the preliminary systems to the smart cities. All of these things are to normalize the behavior, so that when they actually put it in place, you don't feel violated. You don't feel nothing. You're numb because your rights was already, your privacy, your rights, everything was already violated. So you've been going through it for so long, right? But we got to talk about it, because how long they going to use these tactics on us, and we're going to just act like we don't know what they're doing. Like, enough is enough, man. Enough is enough. I'm going to get to Prince Andrew. Well, actually, he's not a prince. He is no longer a prince. But we're going to get there, but we have to talk about what's leading up to this, right? So the Epstein files is coming out. I don't think he's dead, but they're out. There's a lot of talk of... There's a lot of symbolic conversations in the files, which leads us to believe that, first of all, I never thought QAnon was bugging. That's number one. I thought they were going too far. Here's my problem with QAnon. I thought, yo, they don't have any self-awareness. By that, I mean, they had to know some of the things that they were saying were very fringe. So for them to go attack so hard, me personally, if I was the head of QAnon, I would have said, let's pull back, because they're going to take us as a joke if we don't pull back some. Let's try to bring some credence to some type of credibility to what we're saying, right? But QAnon was just throwing it out there. They was just throwing it out there. It was like, yo, the people on adrenochrome, and they buying it in mass quantities, and they was just bugging out. And I'm like, yo, you doing the wrong thing, right? And shout out to Marjorie Green Taylor, who I think is fine. I'm not worried about none of what y'all talk about. You understand? Black people always want to judge you on what you find attractive. Nigga, she's attractive. Get off my nuts. How about that? Huh? Fuck out of here. Anyway, she was head on. And I was like, nah, pull back, Marjorie, don't fall for it, right? And then they caught her out there. And they made it seem like a quack job in Congress. They was like, oh, you mean the lady that believe in all these theories? Right? So then she had to ease up for a little bit. And I'm like, damn, baby girl. You understand? If you would have just pulled back a little bit, you got to learn how to balance it when you're talking about these fringe theories Otherwise, they will use it against you later on. That is one of their tactics. You got to understand their tactics and their plays. You understand? So, as they're going through these Epstein's files and they're discovering a bunch of stuff, there's some coded communication about beef jerky or jerky. Some analysts and researchers are alluding to the fact this may involve cannibalism. Why wouldn't it? Let me ask you that. Why wouldn't it? You ready to be offended, or you want to leave the channel now before I offend you? Because you got 5 seconds. You could turn me off so you're not listening, so you don't hear what I'm about to offend you. You got 5 seconds. You good? Let's go. Now, you got to understand, the people that I'm about to talk about, their involvement goes back well past 200,000 years ago. But I use 200,000 because that's like a safe number for me to have documentation of, right? There is documentation of civilization. And I'm not talking about the science community. I almost hate the science community because they have a lot of credible evidence on some things, but the things they don't have credible evidence of, they usually fill with dogmatic theory, and that's my problems with the science community. So you get bullshit motherfuckers like Darwin and the theory of evolution. The theory of evolution. But from what I can see, and even right now, whoever is in charge, whatever entities are in charge, because it's not no puppet ass president. Donald Trump can never fucking be in charge. That's clear. This nigga's not in charge. That's evident. He might have thought he had plans. And I do think he had some plans. Like, yo, we're going to make America great again. And it was some people just sitting back, like, half-ass paying attention to him and talking at the same time, eating some fucking jerky. They half paying attention to him. And they say, yeah. Let him in. He's good. He get in there, and they show him a full picture of him giving Bill Clinton a blowjob. Hey, you remember this? Anyway, forget about that. Fuck that picture. You understand? This is what we need you to do. Huh? He don't have enough money to be in fucking charge. Are you shitting me? He don't have enough money to be in charge. There are people, I learned of people through this Epstein file that are not mentioned. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention. There's a fucking Rothschild. Now, we all know the Rothschilds. That's not the name, but they were mentioning specific Rothschilds. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was perplexed. I said, what? I never even heard of this fucking name. Now, how rich do you got to goddamn be for us to know your family very well? We know the fucking Rothschilds, but we don't know no goddamn descendants. We just keep mentioning Mayor Rothschild, Mayor Amschel Rothschild, Nathaniel Rothschild. We keep on mentioning the same names, but they have descendants who are still in power that came out in the Epstein's files. I'm like, God damn. We ain't seen no pictures of you. Nobody mentioned you in tabloids. You deep in the goddamn Epstein files. Oh, the vampires is still here. We'll get to them in a second, though. Trust me. Hit the like button. For today, I will give you another history of the planet Earth. One that you will not get on any other channel. So you have to just drudge your way through my rhetoric before I get there. But we will get there in the diaspora of the Lyran people. But I don't want to jump ahead yet. We'll get to the reptilians and the others. You just hit the fucking like button. That's all you got to do. Yo, I don't know how to, I'm new to technology. Yo. Nobody trying to hear all that shit, Lord. Double tap the screen. On the top, there's going to be some 3 buttons. Hit the like button. The fuck is you talking about? Now, let's get to this. I want to get Prince Andrew out the way. I don't know why I'm still calling him Prince Andrew. He's disgraced. In October 2025, hold on. Guess what I found, y'all? My reading glasses. Yep. Peep is out. Oh, look at that. Damn, that looks good. In October 2025, King Charles III stripped his brother, Prince Andrew, of his remaining royal titles, including Duke of York, and his style of His Royal Highness. Bro, I was never called... Andrew. May I call you Andrew? I was never calling you Your Royal Highness. Anyway, if it makes you feel any better. Now known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, goddamn, he was also evicted from the Royal Lodge in Windsor to further distance the monarchy from him. Oh, son, you are disgraced. What a way to go out. What a way the queen would fucking turn over in her cave. So, I want to get what. Okay, here we go right here. In a statement on Thursday night, Buckingham Palace said King's brother will now be known as Yo, to make an announcement of his new MC name is wild and crazy. You can say, yo, his new name, don't fuck all that Prince shit, Lord. His new name, as I was saying, his new name is just Prince Mountbatten Windsor, which is crazy as an MC name. I hope you don't plan on releasing any mixtapes, because I'm not. That's crazy. Andrew gave up his other royal titles earlier this month. I mean, you didn't have no choice. The king snatched them. What are you talking about? Including the Duke of York, after facing more questions about his private life. In a posthumous memoir published earlier this month, Virginia Giuffre repeated allegation that, as a teenager, she had sex with Prince Andrew on 3 separate occasions. Andrew has always denied the claims. All right. So far we learned that people fucking lie. I believe she's dead. So killing her did not solve anything. The ghost of Virginia still lives on. What this is showing me, as we get deeper into this conversation, is that the reptilians are here. And I'm jumping ahead of myself, but there is also another entity here, amongst many others probably. We'll get to it. So it appears we have a light and a dark energy, right? And I use dark as a negative because I don't use it in the scientific term as unknown, right? But it appears we have, if you're trying to ask yourself, well, why haven't they just took it over totally? There must be something stopping them from doing it, right? Because we can no longer act like we don't know they're fucking snatching people up, drinking their blood. Now, they got you involved in their bullshit thousands of years ago when they incorporated the drinking of the blood and the eating of the flesh as a ritual in your what? In your religion. And furthermore, why would you? Religion means to rebind. Re means to do again. My question is, what happened with the separation that we needed to rebind to anything? But that is a rhetorical question. The real question is, why are you guys taking fucking communion, right? Can we stop the bullshit? We know these people have been lying to you for thousands of years. I'm well prepared for your cognitive dissonance and for you to push back because you are heavily invested sentimentally, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, all of it. You're involved. You're like, yo, I invested so much in this religion. Are you going to tell me it's bullshit? Son, I've been telling you it's bullshit. But never mind. Suppose it's all true. And it's not bullshit. Why are you drinking blood every month, symbolically, and eating flesh? Who told you this was a good idea? No, but what they saying is it's Christ that whoa, listen to yourself. Get a hold of yourself, god damn it. This is the Christ. What are you doing eating his? Because I want to be more like him. I want his power. You're bugging. You're bugging. You gotta get your shit together. You're bugging. Hold up. Tell me again why you were symbolically drinking his blood and eating his flesh? Because it gives us the shut up. Shut up. You know how many times you sinned before you even left this fucking church? Huh? Each and every one of you. You're thinking something sexual. This one has on this. You're trying to peep at her ass. Huh? The fucking deacon is looking at the little boys. The fuck are we doing pretending here? Is that what you want to do? You want to sit around and pretend? Yeah. You want to sit around and pretend. This ain't the channel for that. Get the fuck off my channel. Get out of here. You're good to leave. Beat it. Fuck out. You thought I was gonna sit around and beat you off or subscribe? Yo, please like and subscribe. Funguli, get out of here. And take your subscription with you, fucking jerk-offs. I love the people in my comments. Oh, I was going to subscribe, but you too, bro. Get the fuck out of here. You're probably one of them that's drinking blood every month, dressing in white, and you have the nerve to judge these other people doing rituals, because they are eating kids and they are drinking the blood. See, the reason they choose kids, listen to me. You have to understand the power of the blood. What does blood do? What is the purpose of blood? Blood carries the nutrients and the oxygen throughout your temple. That's what it does. Yeah. Blood carries the nutrients and the oxygen through your temple. Why is he looking at my truck? Everybody's looking at my truck. I think it's because I got a 2026. So, with the blood carrying the nutrients and the oxygen through your temple, the longer you are on earth, the more contaminated your body is. But the younger you are on earth, you understand? The more potent Now, a lot of people like to equate this to Canaanite behavior. You religious people, they want you to believe, oh, it was the Canaanites doing this evil business. Let me tell you my theory. We'll get into some things. And like I said, we will get into another history of this earth in about maybe 15 minutes. I'll go there. But let's just talk about this for a second. Most people, they're into something, involved in something, they have no idea what they're involved in. I didn't know it was that easy to sell, but it is. Someone asks you, hey, have you considered Christ as your Lord and Savior? You say no. They start a conversation. Listen, Christ died for your sins. Next thing you know, you are fucking second pew in a church service somewhere, clapping your hands, not understanding what's going on, giving up your money. Damn, that was fast. It happens every day. But we are living in the year 2026 of your Lord, not mine, yours. Mind you, I never said I didn't believe in God. I said he's not my Lord. Your Lord is not my Lord. I assure you this. Well, why you say that, Jamel? Because your Lord is a bullshit God, I assure you. Well, how can you say that? Because he came from nowhere, I promise you. I've done the research. He's absolutely came from nowhere. Nowhere, I tell you. He's not a part of anybody's fucking pantheon. And when you put the timelines together, they don't make sense. So if I study a time period when you say this religion started, and then I go to each and every one of the other civilizations and communities that existed at that time that, for one, have a record of their existence. So I could go to the Akkadians, the Assyrians, the Sumerians, the Babylonians, the Egyptians. I could go to them and I could read what was going on. Who were your gods? Oh, you thought I wasn't going to search for you? Fuck out of here. You caused all of this chaos. You really thought I wasn't going to search for you in history? Nah, we searching for you, buddy. Where you at? Are you part of this pantheon? No. Are you part of this pantheon? No. Where the fuck are you at, my boy? Where is Yahweh? About a decade ago or more, the Christian church tried to, the Roman Catholic Church tried to back away, huh? Made a big announcement. Yo, we are no longer mentioning Yahweh. Oh, how convenient. How fucking convenient, Roman Catholic Church, that you would now, in the 21st century, decide that you no longer want any connection to fucking Yahweh. Did you know we was going to figure it out? Guess what? Hello. Y'all. My mother didn't raise no goddamn fool. I figured it out, Pope. Say, where is this guy? The fuck is he at? Then I seen he had a hard-on for Baal. Oh, he hated Baal. Oh, Baal is evil. Baal is evil. Baal was part of a real pantheon, though. That's what I can say for Baal. Fuck what you talking about. Baal was number 2 in the Canaanite pantheon, Jack. Right under El. Yeah. That's what I can say for Baal. But you, Yahweh, where? By now, unless you living under the rock, because I don't like to keep repeating myself like I'm saying something new and I'm not saying something new. Unless you living under a rock, by now, you are well aware that Elohim actually is a plural word and not a singular word. Everyone has been saying this. You can look it up to yourself. Not one AI is going to lie to you. You could go to the books at Yale and look things up. You have all the tools to be able to be aware if you really wanted to know the truth. The truth is you are very comfortable in your ignorance. That's the truth. Now, when you find out that Elohim does not mean one singular God, but plural gods, plural powerful beings, what does that say to you? What say you? Do you say, yeah, but I don't believe in all that? Whoa, let's slow the conversation down because I got time today, Jack. What are you saying when you say, I don't believe in all that? It's not for you to fucking believe. No one's asking you to believe the truth. They're presenting the truth to you. This is not predicated upon your belief system. Fuck you mean? You don't believe. Nobody asked for your belief. No. Nigga, I'm telling you, Elohim means plural beings, powerful ones. Now, what the fuck you gonna do with that? Well, what do you want me to do with that? Whoa. What I want you to do with that is, never mind the King James Version, and never mind the St. Jerome Vulgate. You say, what's those? I say, oh man, you out the loop, daddy-o. You don't know they had different versions of the Bible? Fuck is you doing? Huh? See, if you into something, you're going to get into something. You're going to know what you into. Don't get involved in the thing. Never gamble in the game that you don't know how to play. Fuck is you doing? That's how you lose your rent money on Fordham. Fucking around with 3-card money. Huh? You don't know shit about shit. Don't do that. Never gamble in a game that you can't play. That's Tretch, naughty by nature, nigga. Hip hop. Stop playing around, right? So, what I'm saying is, if you're going to get involved in a religion, you playing like you trying to become more spiritual. No, I'm a different person. Whoa. I just want to know, I want you to know what you into. I do appreciate the fact that you want to be a better person, but do you know what you about to get into? Because you about to get into some shit, Jack. They doing blood sacrifices over here. No bullshit. Every Sunday, dress in white, come in, huh? Whole ritual. Fucking nurses is whole shit, whole ceremony. Shit is pretty though. You understand? Unfortunately, this goes down every Sunday. Yeah. Drinking of the blood, eating of the flesh of somebody else's flesh. But you want to tell me about fucking Jeffrey Epstein and ex-Prince Charles praying on, oh, we'll get there, bitch. What did they do that was so different than the fucking Catholic Church and their lawsuits for pounding little boys in the ass? Can we talk today or not? Get off my fucking channel, matter of fact. I don't want to talk to you. Fuck out of here. What? You still part of that shit? Huh? The man had one instruction that he really, really cared about, and that was suffer the little children. That's what he said. Suffer the little children. And guess what? You did the fucking opposite of suffer the little children. No, I thought he said suffer the children. I swear, I didn't know he said. Shut up. No, I thought he said make him suffer. I did, Jim. I did. I would have never did that. Shut the get out! Get out! Get off my channel! You fucking nut! Please tell him I'm sorry. Shut up! Get out of here! Oy vey. Did you know Jesus came to die for your sins? This shit is all symbolical when you find out. When you find out before the gods were considered as the sun, for the gods were compared to the sun. When you find out that the gods were compared to the moon, there was a moon god that was more powerful than the sun god before the sun god, but you don't know that. Guess what the moon god's name was? I give you one fucking guess. That's right, you got it correct on the first time. Sin. That was the moon god's name. Sin. That was the moon god's name. Sin. So Jesus, who is no more than a symbolical symbol of the sun, right? You got 12 disciples for 12 months in the year, the 12 signs of the zodiac, right? And he is the Son of Man. And he came to save me from what? I came to save you from sin. Who, the moon god? Sin never did shit to me. I'm going to keep it real with you though, Jesus. But listen, I kind of dig the shit you saying too. Y'all both say some things that I could take with me on my journey as a fool in this life. Now, those people who I mentioned before who went to Canaan, who came out of nowhere, by the way, they worship in a what? Synagogue. Synagogue. Yeah. They worship in a synagogue. And when you look at the history of their origin, well, it's clearly they have always worshipped more than one God. Clearly. Now, as I was saying, never mind the King James Version. 1605 or 1611 or something like that. Never mind the St. Jerome version, the Vulgate. And quite honestly, I don't know if you can even, never mind the Septuagint either. Let's go back, way back. Now, before I go back, a lot of people like to mention, yeah, but what about the Ethiopian Bible, bro? Why would you start in the middle? What are you doing? What are you doing? Why would you start in the middle? What is wrong with you people that love to start in the middle of a fucking thing? Is the Ethiopian Bible the origin of these tales? It is not. Starting in the middle is what got you in this fiasco in the first fucking place. What you guys have to stop doing is starting in the fucking middle and the end. This is how you run around the earth, end up calling yourself Moors when you were called Nubians and Ethiopians before that. You get wrapped up in some fucking cult riding around the United States with no plates, getting arrested, getting the shit beaten out of you by the police because you think you are sovereign, because you've been listening to Moorish rhetoric all week and now you came outside like you're invincible. You know why? Because you listen to people who started in the fucking middle. Now, if this offends you, good, motherfucker, because you need some good pounding into your fucking cognition. Somebody that'll really fucking hit. I wish you was in front of me so I could knock your jaw fucking clean off, you jackass. Right? You're going on and on with your rhetoric. Don't stop starting in the fucking middle. This is getting you in trouble. Go back farther every time. Now, here's the thing. Even if you say, but I only know history from the middle. Okay, thank you for admitting that. Know thyself. Knowledge of self is the first thing you're going to need on this journey. So now that you know, okay, I only know from the middle, in increments you go back. In increments, and go back as far, you keep on going back, and I promise you, you're going to go down a rabbit hole that's going to open your fucking eyes. I assure you. Now you can hit the like button. Yeah, you can hit the like button now. You can hit it now. And I say that because I know there's going to be somebody that says, well, the Ethiopian, You're missing a point. All of these things are still talking about a story. So we got to go back to the story. Where's the story coming from? The beginning, the gene of Isis, Genesis. It turns out the book that we read, I read it. I love the book. I'm gonna keep it 1,000 with you. You know why? Let me tell you this. I know how to not throw out the baby with the bathwater. So what I do is I take from the stories and I take the purpose of the stories and I apply them in life, and they're a reminder of how we should move, because this planet has been here for billions of years. Way more than 2,000 or 200,000 or any 100,000. How do I know this? Because gold in this land is here, and it takes gold millions of years to form. So that lets us know right then and there, this planet has definitely been here for millions of years. Now, we just use science to basically say what the Earth is not. It is not that young of 4,000, 6,000, 20,000, 200,000. No. It has to be longer than that, and I just told you why. Many things could have happened over and over again to make things on this planet reset itself. Many things. We'll go through some of those things. But I want to get to those people who we're talking about in this story. Because their God, who appears to have fucking came from nowhere, like I said, they also came from nowhere. For you cannot just cross over, but I guess that is what Hebrew means. You understand? So in their story, the son of Terah, Abraham, crosses over from wherever he's from. I say whatever, but I know he's from Ur of the Chaldees. He crosses over from Ur of the Chaldees into a new land. Does that make you a Hebrew? What makes you a fucking Hebrew? Because you were not a Hebrew before that. So no one has answered that question. It is easy to see in the story how you guys became Israelites because somebody just gave somebody a new fucking name. Does it mean anything? I don't know if it means anything. But now it's causing more confusion because we got like 3 different names for a people and we don't know which one to use when. It's like having 2 forks at dinner. I don't know when to use this. Oh, it's easy, sir. This one is for your salad and this one would be for your food. Well, when do I call them Jews? Well, easy. That term is kind of new. It's only been created within the last 200 years. What? Yeah. And it originated from the people that was from Judea. Oh, so these people, the people I see with they're from Judea? Fuck no. I'm just telling you the origin of the word. I didn't say their origin came from fucking Judea. They have no connection with Judea. I'm confused. As you should be. As you should be. No. Those people you're referring to come from fucking Khazaria. Where? Never mind. Because that's not what we're talking about. We were really talking about the Hebrews. Well, that's what I was talking about. No, you weren't. You were talking about Ashkenazi Jews who... It's kind of like identity theft. A little bit. Are they related to these people? From their own scientists. Their own scientists said they are not related to these people. But I digress. Again, I am trying to get to the origins of these stories. If you will, please, sir, stop interrupting me. I do believe that it was one exiled Amenhotep IV, aka Akhenaten, that was told to leave Egypt. Come out to the blood clot. Leave, no man. For trying to start a monotheistic religion with the cult of Amun had many priests, and they were not ready for this monotheistic culture. So the priests did find a way to get him up out of there. Boom. You could go look all of this up. And you can look up the timeline is what I want you to look up. Yeah. Look up the timeline. The timeline you're going to find is not that far from when they say Judaism started. Now, it is my belief that this one, Akhenaten IV, did go to Canaan because he did have a relationship with them and they regarded him as a friend. And if I was exiled, I'm going to go to where they treat me kindly, and we have evidence of their relationship because they wrote many letters saying that a Hebrew people, phonetically, it is similar to Hebrew. If we can consider different dialects over the thousands of years and accents, we can kind of see where maybe the word Hebrew people was transformed into Hebrew people. Am I saying that happened? I am not at this moment. That is a theory of not just mine, but other scholars as well. Now, these Hebrew people were actually what is the word I want to use? Terrorizing the Canaanites. Now, they say these Hebrew people were like just some desert shepherds, like just from rogue. How, Sway, are these desert dwellers wreaking this much havoc that you would have to reach out to the Pharaoh of Egypt for help and resources to combat them? I don't think these were simpletons. Anyway, it is obvious, logically, because they already sent the steel letters to Egypt asking for the resources. So Amenhotep must have still been in power. So obviously, when he was exiled, meaning he did not have the same power he had because you were exiled, you were nobody. Take your people and come on to the blood clot. Did he leave by himself? I doubt it. I doubt it. I bet he left with a bunch of people. And where would he have gone? You tell me where you would go. If you was exiled with a bunch of people, where would you go? That's right. We don't need to spend all day long. You would go to fucking Canaan. Now, when he gets to Canaan, they already have a pantheon there. And guess who's there already terrorizing the Canaanites? You guessed it, the Hebrew people. Now, how is Amenhotep IV going to deal with this? You don't got no power, bro. You can't call on Egypt. You don't got no power like that, Lord. You're going to have to compromise. That's what you're going to have to do. If you read the Bible, it says that Yahweh came from the mountains of Egypt. Guess what? Which mountain? Well, remember a second ago I told you that before we got these sun gods, Zeus and Jesus and all of this other stuff, Before we got the sun gods, there was the moon god, Sin. Now, they said that Yahweh comes from which mountain peninsula? Which one? I want you to say it. You tell me. You take it too long. The Sinai Peninsula in Egypt. Watch this. Break that word apart real quick. What do you get? You got sign and you got I. 2 syllables. Sinai. First of all, you're saying it fucking wrong. Because the first syllable is sin. How you like those fucking apples? The second syllable, I, actually means a mound. That's what it fucking means. A mound. AI. Pronounce I. Yeah. Yeah. I told y'all to leave. Y'all keep fucking around over here. I told you to leave. I don't want to teach you something you're not ready for. Oh, don't try to get out of here now. I ain't listening to this shit no more. Nah, you don't know what he's talking about. Oh, I know what I'm talking about. No. I can back up what I'm talking about. I told you to leave. You get over here and fuck around and learn something you didn't want to learn. Then you can't unknow it. Fuck up the rest of your day. Why would you want to do that when I gave you a chance to leave? Now you can't leave. Now you can't leave. Look, they went and go look it up. I'm going to go look this shit up right now. Go look it up. Why would I lie to you? I made you. Why would I play you? So, this Yahweh God came from Sinai, the moon mound. Why do I bring that up before we get into the reptilians and all this other shit? I bring it up because I just wanted you to know you don't know what the fuck you believe in. Right? I know you know what you think you believe in, but you don't know the background story of what you believe in. So, and because you're too either lazy or scared to look into it, because if you find anything that is contrary to what you believe now, the euphoric feeling might go away, and you don't want to jeopardize that. I like when I just feel so good. Well, play stupid games and win stupid fucking prizes, nigga. Now you down here. You done already participated in these people's ritual day in, day out. Giving them consent. Like the vampires they are and they need your consent. You give them the consent. You was involved in their rituals. How dare you bring up the fact that they may be eating kids? They definitely eating kids. Fuck you mean, Jack? I want to play something for you. And shout out to Stuart Swerdlow, who was part of the Montauk Project. I want to play something for you. I'm going to let this rock out. Give y'all a little something. Hit the like button coming in.
It does seem difficult to believe that these creatures roamed the planet undisturbed for 165 million years, long before humans appeared. And yet recent discoveries show human footprints side by side with dinosaur tracks. Footnote: dinosaur and human footprints side by side were unearthed at the Dinosaur State Park on the Paluxy River near Glen Rose, Texas. End footnote.
Before we get into this story, I want you to consider something. In the book they call The Genes of Isis, my fault, Genesis, In the book they call Genesis, and ISIS is just a they keep renaming the same two individuals, right? And if you go back further enough, you'll find out that ISIS's name, if depending what civilization you're referring to, was really Ninhursag. 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 Look it up. Then I want you to look up who Ninhursag was. And I want you to look up what Ninhursag did. That's what that's more important. This is the reason they called Ninhursag Mama. I didn't tell you what she did, so you're like, what? You go look it up. What she did. Now, the people who started this story that is in the book, the good book, they actually, I say stole, but some people don't like when I say steal, and they try to reason why the stories are so similar. These Hebrew stories are so similar to these older Mesopotamian stories. Well, it could only be one fucking reason, that they stole them. That's why. They stole them to create a new religion. For their creation story, so we could just throw our remix on it, right? They've probably been here a long time. We're going to, and how many people throughout the centuries have started new religions throwing their remix on shit, and they have millions of followers. The Mormons. Mormons is a wild group. They are fucking wild. Huh? They was out here murdering shit in America. In their own kind. They didn't just stop at black people, right? If they was even murdering black people. They were focused on, if you was not with us, you against us. If you're white or black, we don't give a shit. We take you out, Jack. They took out their own kind. Mormons is wild. Anyway, their story is a little bit of the galactic history and a little bit of the Hebrew history, which is not really Hebrew history, because who the fuck are the Hebrews anyway? But it is more of a Mesopotamian history, because that's where the story of Moses. There's no way in the world Moses got the same story as King Sargon, and you want me to believe this was an accident. It was no fucking accident. If it was just one occurrence that you had taken from these older civilizations, I would say, all right, maybe you got something going there. But you took more than one thing and you flipped it and bounced it on some bullshit. So for that reason, I'm gonna have to call them out. Now, there's basically three religions based off this origin story. You got Christians, Jews, and Muslims based off of this patriarch of Abraham, which I believe to be a made-up fucking story. So that is problem number one, because you have millions of followers now who believe in good principled things, but the stories are originated in a dark occultism. And no matter how vested you are, you cannot build your house on quicksand. No matter how vested you are. Now, let's get into this story.
There has not been even a smidgen of evidence about the evolution of dinosaurs. There were no animals that we know of that could have possibly preceded and evolved into those gargantuan creatures. But when we are told by Swerdlow that the reptilians brought their own animals with them to this planet, suddenly it all makes sense.
Right.
And, as will be heard, Swerdlow offers at least a believable reason for their abrupt disappearance, while paleontology has no explanation.
So, I don't want that to go over your head. What he's basically asking you to do is consider the origins of dinosaurs. Why are scientists telling us everything as if they know everything? A lot of them don't know shit. They are paid propagandists. That's what they do. These scientists are up for sale. How do I know this? That even a guy I looked up to at one point in time, Neil Tyson, deGrasse Tyson, right? This motherfucker, when they threw the monkey wrench on him, and they asked him about XX chromosome, XY chromosomes, nigga folded. He said, why does it matter? You know, what does it matter if you woke up and you feel like a girl? You understand? What does it matter? Nigga, you a scientist. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What does it matter? Oh, say less. Say less. You for sale. You for sale, and you want the rest of the world to hang on to every word of this dogmatic philosophy of science. Where, like I said before, yes, you can observe, you can measure, you can test the theories that you have. But that's not my problem with science. My problem is you dogmatically pressing them on the people when you don't have all the answers of your theories, right? And if they don't believe in it, then, oh, you, Senator, when you question me, you question science, Senator. Huh? Remember that? Who remembers that nonsense? Senator, when you question me, you question, where did that rhetoric get us? Where did that rhetoric get us? It got us millions of people. That's where the rhetoric got us. So now they like to call you things like you're anti-V, you're yo, Fanguli, shut up, bro. My mind is not, you can't take me down that easy. We not doing that. Y'all don't know everything, and y'all use word semantics to make it seem like everything that you say is credible. But the more I look into your research, I found out you know some things, but then there's some things you don't know, and then you just winging that shit until you get the answers. You buying time until you get the answers. And you playing around with things you have no idea what you playing with. For one, our DNA. Who would have known that the X-Men is a real fucking thing? Mutants are real. Why? Because you got people down here crossbreeding with shit that they're playing in positions they should not be playing in. Right? I.e. the Montauk Project. Anyway, I digress. Let's keep going.
The rulers of the galaxy? Right at the outset, Swerdlow's information tosses out such revered and hallowed anthropological authorities as Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace. The Darwinian theory of evolution has no place whatever in this story. The celebrated voyage of the HMS Beagle can now be viewed as simply an adventurous pleasure cruise by a bored English intellectual, and Darwin's vaunted hypothesis as so much unproven speculation squeezed into a theoretical framework. To this day, although accepted by scientists, it remains only a theory, now being intelligently challenged by the intelligent design advocates. Swerdlow's version of prehistoric cosmology begins about 10 to 12 million years ago, Earth time. At that time, the reptilians inhabited the Draco star system, which consisted of numerous planets. From Earth, the stars in Draco undulate through the heavens, describing a snake-like path in the northern sky, ending up between the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper, and are considered to be in Ursa Major. The best-known member of the constellation is the bright blue-white star Alpha Draconis, or Thuban, which means head of the dragon. Thuban was the northern pole star around 3000 BCE.
Now, in this story, I want you to remember something. In this plagiarized story that was taken from an older civilization, I want you to remember one thing as you listen. The story starts off with obviously, well, let me not do that. Let me say it quite frankly. Never mind the new version, the edited version by King James or St. Jerome. But even in the Septuagint, the translated version, it says the Elohim. Where now in our Bible it says God, they use the word Elohim, which we now know is plural. And it says in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, and the Elohim said, let us make man in our image. That's what it says. You could go look it up. The Elohim says it's a plural word. Just like cherubim or seraphim, right? Elohim. The I am in Hebrew makes it plural, masculine plural. So, we have a plural word where before, when they just tried to change it to a singular word, and God said, let us make man in our, that don't make no sense, right? The church didn't know how to explain this, so they came up with all type of bullshit theories of the Trinity and all of this nonsensical stuff. The truth is, there was a divine council that was regarded as the Elohim, and the divine council is mentioned in the Bible. It even says that the sons of God was giving certain land, territory on this planet. But I do believe that the book was edited. Somewhere it was corrupted, because it says, but Yahweh was given what? He wasn't given no land. Then what was Yahweh given? Jacob's seed. Ah, disgusting. Ah, God forbid I get your fucking, well, I look like Diddy. I don't want your goddamn seed all over me. No. Take your filthy seed. That's what the book says. You know why he wasn't given any land? Because he wasn't part of the fucking original divine council. Because he's a bullshit God made up from nowhere. That's why. Made up for fucking sheep herders or some mountain herders somewhere. All I know is he came from fucking nowhere. Now, at the beginning of this story, after these people are made, and by the way, I believe that the people that they're talking about, and this is not a racist comment, so I have to give you that disclaimer before I'm about to say what I'm about to say. But I'm gonna give you my theory on why I'm saying it. So everybody calm down. I don't want you to say, oh, we're getting into racist. No. I'm not racist. Like I just told you, I find Marjorie Taylor Greene very attractive. So I'm not racist. I got a beautiful wife, but if I wasn't married, you understand, she a little bit older than me, but we would make it work, is what I'm telling you. Yes, she has a bobblehead. Stop making fun of her fucking big ass head. You think I care about her big head? I don't. You're not going to discourage me. Knock it off. At the beginning of this story, well, I was going to tell you, I think that they're talking about, when they say, let us make man in our image, they're really talking about black people or colored people. Why? Because the black people have a melanated skin, right? We have a eumelanin in us. This body that we have is a complicated design. It's very complicated. And it's very technical, right? You need electricity for this thing. Like, this didn't happen by some random fucking chance. This design was very intentional by genetic scientists like Inky and Ninhursag, like the genetic scientists that they were. Now, we're about to listen. I know you're saying to yourself, then where did white people come from? We're going to get into that. Maybe the white people came from exactly where Hitler said the fuck they came from. You ever consider that? They tell you all in the movies where they fucking came from. It's you that don't want to listen that where they came from. It's you. But anyway, we're about to get to that. In this story, and I'm not talking about from the Caucasus Mountains, just in case you think, yo, they came from the Caucasus Mountains. I'm not talking about the Caucasus Mountains. Not talking. Look, Caucasus Mountains might have been where they ended up. How about that? Don't listen to these motherfuckers that's telling you black people turn. Fucking melanin don't work like that. Melanin don't work like that. This shit is so powerful, you don't have no idea how powerful this shit is. You know what type of power you got to have to resist the radiant frequencies that's emanating from the sun, motherfucker? For if this shit wasn't on us, we would redden and burn to a crisp and catch all type of cancers and all that silly shit. So whatever this melanin is, it is highly powerful, Jack. These genetic scientists knew what they was doing. Anyway, I digress. At the beginning of the story, after the Elohim do all of these things, they're making the firmament and separating the waters and got the animals and everything, right? There's only one other entity that is able to conversate at this moment in time. But it appears that this entity was already like fucking there. It seems like very familiar. It is called the reptile. In your story, in your religion, the reptile was already there. In your story, the reptile was already there. But check this out. In your story, the reptile is the bad guy. Why is the reptile the bad guy? You ever thought about that? Do you agree with that? You agree with that because you are taking the advice from a fucking puppet called a preacher and a pastor and a pope and all of these other fucking charlatans. But if you had a mind to think on your fucking own and really look at the story, some entity said, no, I want you to be, just remain fucking docile and stupid. Just remain docile and stupid. Don't worry. Trust me, you're good, you're good. And then a fucking snake reptile, because he's not a snake yet. The snake was his punishment. Watch. He's a serpent. That's the word they use. which is in the reptilian family. So the serpent says, if you eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, surely you will not die. Now, Eve is obviously out of pocket, right? She's over here talking to niggas. Fuck is you doing? Talking to niggas by yourself. This ain't that type of relationship, stupid. Fuck are you doing? Nah, he was just telling me, he was putting me on game. I'ma put you on some fucking game in a second, stupid. Fuck is you doing over here talking to these snakes? Nah, he was just putting me on, telling me. Serpent is giving Eve fucking advice in the story. But what I want you to focus on is two things. Where the fuck did this serpent come from that he could talk and knows the language already, how to communicate with these two? One. And two, why would he be the bad guy for telling them there's knowledge there? There's knowledge. Go eat. Get the fucking knowledge. Because if you get the knowledge, you'll be like us. You'll be like a god. Get the knowledge. I want you to be all you could be. So they in the story. And all of a sudden they got the fucking knowledge. They could see what's going down. Oh shit, this is going down. Right? And in classical form, hold on. Yahweh never know what the fuck he's doing. He's supposed to be omniscient, omnipresent. This nigga don't be knowing shit. He never know what the fuck is going on. So he is not omniscient or omnipotent, right? He don't be knowing. Several times he's like, yo, where you at? Yo, we over here. You got on clothes? He's always out the loop. He don't know niggas is building towers to the heaven. Yahweh don't know be doing shit. I'm gonna continue the story, but I wanted you to think about why Yahweh is why they call him the evil person in this story. Not Yahweh, the serpent. Why they say that the serpent is the evil one in this story? If anything, the serpent was trying to put the humans onto game.
And is widely believed to be the home star of the Draco reptilians, although there are 18 other major stars with planets in the Draco system. The Draco are allied with the reptilians in Orion and Rigel, forming the Draco-Orionite Empire, and with the Syrian Wolfen kingdoms. They are an aggressive, warlike, tyrannical species, not at all interested in peaceful coexistence, but only in the domination and enslavement of other civilizations. They have had space travel technology from their earliest days.
Stop right there. Whether you believe what you're hearing or not, you cannot deny the fact that there appears to be a group down here that does not care for your well-being. For if they did care about your well-being, they would not forcibly spray poison on your crops, nigga, and feed you a line of bullshit about how this is going to kill the insects that eat your crops. Dickhead, it's going to kill us slowly. Now, slowly, it's going to give us tumors and all type of bullshit ailments, which we're going to have to go to your stupid-ass doctors who obviously are going to take advantage of us. And they want to see us. Two things. You trying to find a way to one, or a few things. Capitalize off our slow death, make us a weaker people, a weaker species, so when the time does come for you to come out the closet, I'm coming out, right? I'm coming. And and you come out like Mace, huh? That day will come, I assure you. But you want to make sure that the people are totally domiciled, totally in control. If they step out of line, you can whip them back. Then you will show your true self, Dragon. I know this. I'm just telling the people. I know you.
Reptilians, although there are 18 other major stars with planets in the Draco system. The Draco are allied with the reptilians in Orion and Rigel, forming the Draco-Orionite Empire, and with the Syrian Wolfen kingdoms. They are an aggressive, warlike, tyrannical species, not at all interested in peaceful coexistence, but only in the domination and enslavement of other civilizations. They have had space travel technology from their earliest days, and have roamed the galaxy, easily conquering the less developed races they have encountered. Swerdlow says that it is not known how any civilizations came to this galaxy. He speculates that they might have all come from a parallel universe, or another dimension, but it is known.
That's possible. I believe in portals. I'd also believe in time travel. I do believe whatever they're doing at CERN, they're fucking shit up. Because the first law of universal law is one. That is the first law. Give me a second. That might give me... That is my wife. Hold on. What's up, babes? Hey. Good morning. You don't feel too good, huh? I know. Thank you. I know you did a lot. Did you call out or you just waited? Because it's a virtual day today, right? It's a virtual day today, right? But you didn't call out, right? Okay, cool. Oh, okay. So it worked out better? It worked out better? Okay. Well, when you start your shift? 10? Alright, give me a few, right? I'm on the line. Alright, babe. Bye. My daughter, she needed medical attention. Now, if I was there, I would have brought her to the ER. But I didn't want her to go to the ER. I didn't want her to go to the urgent care. Because if you haven't noticed, it seems like these doctors be half-assing work lately, right? They just... Anyway, I know they don't know as much as they claim either, right? These motherfuckers don't be knowing shit. But they did pay their money to go through the John D. Rockefeller brainwashed school of medicine. So they are licensed on this continent that we call fucking North America. But a lot of it is just, they're just told what to do and told how to think. It's not about real medicine. And there's so much experimentation on the people. I see a difference when you take someone to the ER and take someone to the urgent care. So I say, yo, take it to the urgent care. I don't know what the fuck happened. That turned into a literal 12-hour fiasco of her going to the ER. They ran a bunch of tests to try to find out what's going on with my baby girl. So nonetheless, my wife is very tired because that was 11 hours she spent there with my daughter. So it just worked out because at the end of the day, it was a virtual day. Anyway, we got a bunch of ice out here, so they turned it into a virtual day. I was like, yes, because she was going to go in. I know her. She's stubborn. She was going to go in regardless, no matter what time she got in. She would have still went to work. She do not like using them goddamn PTO days at all. Jesus Christ. Use the PTO days. She don't like using them. Santiago, salute, King. All right. Let's get back into this. He was breaking down some stuff about the reptilians. I'm going to let him finish cooking. And then he's going to go into the different human species that come from different constellations, right? What we can't afford to do anymore, I'm gonna push play in a second, but what we can't afford to keep doing is acting like these beings that we're talking about are fringe, right? Don't fall into groupthink, because group thinkers are paid actors, right? They're able to get paid, funded from all type of discretionary sources, so you don't really know who's paying these fact checkers and these people that want to claim that other people are conspiracy theorists and fringe speak. Don't listen to none of that rhetoric, Jack, because you have something called intuition, and the science community would have you believe that this intuition is just a mere mystical made up thing. And I assure you, loved ones, your intuition is not made up. When you really dig into your own anatomy, right? You got to return to science. When you return to science, I didn't say they was everything they tell us is bullshit. They got to tell us some of the truth. They do freestyle, but they're gonna let you know about the electromagnetic fields. They're gonna let you know about the electrical current running through your body, right? There's certain things that you could start to formulate and be like, wait a minute. There's way more technical scientific answers to my existence than just some random antiquated stories of my existence from way back in the days that's leaving out so much. I beg of you, look into your anatomy. Look into... You could be a flat earther, and that's okay, because I'm not here to debate flat earth. But what I do know is that the theory behind why there's an electromagnetic force field, I tend to believe. It makes sense to me. Anyway, I digress. I'll leave that for another video. Let's get back into this story here, because I want you to hear some things.
That the reptilians were the first to arrive.
Roby was good.
Distance, but only in the domination and enslavement of other civilizations. They have had space travel technology from their earliest days, and have roamed the galaxy, easily conquering the less developed races they have encountered.
Now, he goes on to say that the reptilians were first to arrive. This would answer the question that I asked before. Why was Eve talking to an entity that seemed to have already been here? The answer is easy. The entity was already here. The snake was already here. The reptile was already here before everyone else. He had claimed this earth. Well, how did he become dominated if he had claimed the earth? Well, that's a good question. And you will get your answer. Because the 2.0 version of the human was giving a command to what? That's right. You got it right on the third try. Be fruitful and multiply. So the way they had designed the 2.0 version, procreation was faster, obviously, than these reptiles were able to procreate. That was part of the problem. We were procreating way too fast. However, just because there was more of us didn't mean we had knowledge. So they were more powerful still until this day because they have what? They have knowledge. What do we know about knowledge? Well, my people perish for lack of what? For lack of knowledge. So you could have 100,000 versus 100. But if that 100,000 don't know where to get water from, they don't know how to grow crops, they don't know how to keep warm in certain climates, they don't know how to cook, they don't know how to sterilize, they're going to have to come to the 100 for those answers, and those hundreds could take advantage of them. Those hundreds could say, listen, I got the answers that you need, beloved, but this is all I want you to do for me. I want you to get out there and I want you to plow some lines, I'm gonna give you some. I'm gonna hit you off. And guess what? They're gonna divide those 100 up. They're gonna make sure those 100 don't stay as a conglomerate, right? They're gonna divide them up. And as they divide them up, they're gonna separate them mentally, emotionally, mental psyops. Now they're gonna make this 10 over here. Listen, y'all the ones, right? Yeah, we love all those guys. But what we noticed in you 10 is that you guys have a militant leadership qualities. So we just want to ask you, if you're willing, if you could just oversee what these guys are doing. Are you okay with that? We'll let them know. Listen, these guys are just gonna administrate what's going on. All right? Everybody's cool. Everybody's cool. Divide and conquer. This has been a tactic that they've used and keep on using. It's just that they become experts at it at this point in time. You understand? This shit ain't rocket science, Jack.
Swerdlow says that it is not known how any civilizations came to this galaxy. He speculates that they might have all come from a parallel universe or another dimension, but it is known that the reptilians were the first to arrive. That seniority, they believe, entitles them to whatever galactic real estate they want. Also, their DNA does not change. It has remained the same since they first appeared. This, they believe, indicates that they are already perfect and do not need to improve genetically. These beliefs further bolster their connection that they were destined to rule the galaxy. If that is not enough, they can always invoke the might makes right philosophy to justify their conquests, for they are a race of mighty warriors. The Lyran diaspora. The humanoids in this galaxy were, at that time, concentrated in the Lyran star system, where they had established peaceful and advanced agricultural communities on several planets. And they traded with each other. The Lyran star cluster was the home base for humans in this galaxy. Swerdlow tells us that the Lyrans were 7 to 8 feet tall, and primarily blonde and blue-eyed.
Stop right there. So what I want you to understand is Hitler and these people were not totally off their rocker, right? Now, obviously, Hitler and these people were listening to the teachings of one Madame Blavatsky. You understand? But even she had to learn this history from somewhere. This is galactic history. But listen, just in case you are a skeptic, you got to realize right now they don't even teach the children American history. Why not? Because American history has things that they don't want all the kids to know, right? So they don't teach American history in the elementary schools now because they don't want to teach about the slaveries, because this is unfavoring for the white community. And they don't want the white children to feel guilt, according to them, right? So for that reason, this is their reasoning for saying we'll teach history, but we kind of shy away from those sucking topics. Who are you to shy away from these topics of the real life? So if they could do that while you're fucking living, they're doing that right now. You're alive and they're doing that shit. You cannot tell me that they won't tell you about the galactic history and they know it. They know about the galactic history. They're not going to tell you because that would be considered malinformation. Malinformation is not that it is false. Malinformation is, it may very well be true, but they do not feel that that type of information should be privy to the public. That is malinformation. If they don't consider it to be a good idea to let the public know, then they just won't release it. So what would it benefit from them letting you know the galactic history of this planet if it's going to get you all riled up? But some of this information did come out, and it was supposed to remain in the schools of occultism, Theosophy and all these other schools, but it actually came out to the public. Why do you think Hitler was trying to save all the white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed? That was a thing. Yet he himself had no blonde hair or blue eyes. He had a funny mustache, bushy like a caveman. Ridiculous. I don't even know how he grew that crazy shit. Right? But he was adamant about saving the blue-eyed, blonde-haired white man. Because a second ago I told you where I thought the white people came from. And I told you I did not think they came from no fucking mountain. No. They came from a place where their son was more comparable for their phenotype. Planet Earth is harsher on the Caucasian people. I believe if this was meant to be, if they were truly from this planet, I believe they are here now, but if they were truly from this planet, there's no way in the world this sun would be that harsh on these people we call the Caucasians. In fact, I do believe these people came from a place that they were more adaptable to, because that is their planet. It makes more sense. They would have been comfortable. Anyway, let us continue on.
When the Draco Orionites became aware of the Lyrans, they pretended friendship while they took stock of the riches of their empire. This was the first...
William says, I'm white and blue-eyed. I don't have no problem with you, William. I'm not talking bad about any white people or blue-eyed people. I'm not saying anything negative. That's not my rhetoric. That's not my shtick. That's not my shtick. Just in case you want to know, that's not my thing. That's not what I do, right? So I'm not. For anyone that's thinking I'm saying something negative, I have nothing negative to say. I'm telling you my theory on the origins of the people. I have nothing negative to say. I'm telling you my theory on the origins of the peoples that are down here. I believe that the black people were created by these other deities called the Elohim. But we'll get into that story in a second. And I believe that the origins of the Caucasus people, they may have ended up in caves or whatever, mountains and all this other stuff, but I don't think they originated there. I think they ended up there for several reasons, but we'll listen to the story. Let's keep going.
First contact between reptilians and humans in this galaxy. In his book, Defending Sacred Ground, Andromedan contactee Alex Collier describes that first contact. Quote, I want to talk to you about Lyrae and how the human race colonized our galaxy. Based on the age of the suns and the planets in our galaxy, it was decided that the human life form was to be created in the Lyran system. The human race lived there for approximately 40 million years, evolving. The orientation of the human race in Lyra was agricultural in nature. Apparently, we were very plentiful and abundant, and lived in peace. Then one day, a huge craft appeared in the sky. A large ship came out of the huge craft and approached the planet Bila, and reptilians from Alpha Draconis disembarked. Apparently, the Alpha Draconians and the Lyrans were afraid of each other. I told you before that the Alpha Draconians were apparently the first race in our galaxy to have interstellar space travel, and have had this capability for 4 billion years. Well, when the Draconians came and saw Bila, with all its abundance in food and natural resources, the Draconians wanted to control it. There was apparently a miscommunication or misunderstanding between the Draconians and Lyran humans. The Lyrans wanted to know more about the Draconians before some kind of assistance was offered. The Draconians mistook the communication as a refusal and subsequently destroyed 3 out of 14 planets in the Lyran system. The Lyrans were basically defenseless. The planets Bila, Tika, and Marok were destroyed. Over 50 million Lyran humans were killed. It is at this point in history that the Draconians began to look at humans as a food source. This is how old the struggle is between the reptilian and human races.
I know, you got the cognitive dissonance going on right now. Yeah, I don't know if I believe this. Listen, Jack, you the one that's reading the Epstein files and they saying they eat, sacrificing children and eating. You the one who go into a church every month and sit down and drink the blood of somebody who's dead and eat the flesh of somebody who's dead. Who told you to do that? Who taught you to do that? You did not figure that shit on your own. No. Someone who wanted to involve you in their perversions got you involved. Now you're implicit. You've given your consent. Yeah. This thing goes back a long way. They didn't just start eating these fucking people down here. No. Again, they use the children because their blood is more pure. Especially when they want that adrenochrome, which is created at the height of excitement. But there's several different frequencies of excitement. Apparently, they don't want the excitement that gives off a good frequency. They prefer the fear. So they want the chemical that is created in the system at the height of fear. That's what they want. Yeah. Prince Andrew's out of here. He's out of here. Kicked him out, right? Fucking ex-Prince Andrew. Took his fucking titles and everything. You out here on Skid Row, baby. Now, I don't know why they sacrificing their own kind right now, but they are reptilians. So it's not like they are fucking trustworthy from the beginning. Let's continue on. Hit the like button while you're here.
End quote. As noted in the introduction, after the Draco destroyed 3 planets, the Lyrans fled to other star systems. Swerdlow says that the fleeing Lyrans founded 110 colonies in other star systems. Alex Collier says in Defending Sacred Ground, as the human race fragmented, the races moved, traveled, and settled many different planets in many systems as space travel evolved. The human became aware of other planetary civilizations in these systems.
It is crazy for you to think that out of all these planets, Earth would be the only habitable planet. That is ridiculous to even consider. That's fucking ridiculous. So if you're following the story, it is telling us that the reptilians showed up to these planets in the Lyran constellation in their Death Star. The same Death Star that was used in fucking Star Wars. So George Lucas must have known of this story, but he is part of the elite, so it is not hard to consider that they would share this privy information with someone that they feel is worthy of the information. He would put it in a movie and it would seem fictitious to you. And just imaginary. Yet, you would not have the that a galactic history does exist. And as he's about to announce, a galactic federation does exist. William says, Andrew, it wasn't even, hold on, I need my peepers. Hold on. What's going on here? I need my peepers for these small words. Oh, that's big. Pause. Andrew wasn't even to do with the E-Files joke. They all need to go to Diana. Told us years ago. Shout out to Diana. Yeah, they killed her. Definitely killed Diana. Told us years ago in an interview they were all reptiles. I'm not a RF lover. I'm from UK. Yeah, there's quite a few people that have been warning us over the years of the truth. Michael Jackson got so heated. He used a couple of words that they would consider derogatory, right? But he tried to tell us a couple of things. There's a few people who tried to tell us a couple of things. Turned out Michael Jackson was not a pedophile. They just wanted to control him. So they put a bad jacket on Mike. And this is what happens when you hang out with fucking little kids, bro. I don't allow little kids over my house. I don't. I talk too much shit on the internet for your child to be over my house playing with my child. Fuck all that. Huh? Alphabet boys catch you at the bottom of the hill. Hey, what happened up there? Nothing. Are you sure? Because if it, huh? And this is what happened to Dr. York in my belief. Yeah, this is what happened to Dr. York. Dr. York had a rich piece of land, 500 acres down there in Georgia, in between two rivers. It was a fertile crescent, it was. He was building a city. He had created a language. So basically he was making a town, but I think he announced his plan too fast because he was going to try to start a new nation. And when they found out he was trying to start a new nation, they threw his ass in the brig for the rest of his life. Not before he was able to give us a lot of knowledge. So I don't believe a word that they're saying about Dr. York. I don't believe it. I do not believe it. But that's neither here or fucking there. Let's continue on.
Different cultures met and grew. Belief systems clashed or spread. New thoughts of philosophy or technologies came into being. Mankind was evolving. A very strong social community developed between all in from the Lyra system. This community became the Galactic Federation of Light.
The Galactic Federation has been mentioned in, pardon me, news articles. There have been Israeli intelligence have admitted to the Galactic Federation being an actual real committee, an actual real group. So you can look that up, Galactic Federation.
When the Lyran refugees came to our solar system, they colonized 2 planets, Mars and Maldek. According to the Swerdlowian cosmology, at that time, Earth was the second planet from the Sun, and Venus did not exist. Consequently, Mars was third in line, and Maldek was fourth. Maldek was a very large planet with a highly livable atmosphere, and was perfect for human habitation, as was Mars. The Martian atmosphere was also ideal, and there was plenty of oceanic water, as on Earth. Swerdlow says that Mars had seasons then, so we must assume that the axis tilt was comparable to that of present-day Earth. On the other hand, Earth was then a water planet, completely covered by one huge ocean. Footnote: we now know that there are many water planets in the galaxy. Our astronomers have positively identified one such planet, named Gliese 581c. End footnote. Even the atmosphere was dense water vapor, compared to only about 1% today, so it was not breathable. In addition, in that period, Uranus was farther out than Neptune, and Pluto did not exist. We are told that the Lyran humans lived peacefully on Mars and Maldek for many millennia, and no doubt visited and traded with each other, since they both had spacefaring technology.
I don't know what happened on Mars, but I can tell you this. From the little bit of science that I'm learning, because I'm teaching myself science now, the oxidation will leave a substance a certain color. As this process is taking place. And that color is the familiar color of rust. Right? So it makes sense that whatever happened on Mars, if they're telling us water did exist there and now we can't see any water, whatever happened, the water evaporated, but the planet itself was oxidized, leaving it red. It makes sense. Let us continue on.
Named Gliese 581c. End footnote. Even the atmosphere was dense water vapor, compared to only about 1% today, so it was not breathable. In addition, in that period, Uranus was farther out than Neptune, and Pluto did not exist. We are told that the Lyran humans lived peacefully on Mars and Maldek for many millennia, and no doubt visited and traded with each other, since they both had spacefaring technology. The Ice Comet Attack. In their galactic travels, ever on the lookout for new worlds to conquer, the Draco eventually discovered the Lyran habitations on Mars and Maldek. Still considering humans as their enemies, the Draco designed a plan of attack. They had evolved an amazing technology for use in their Star Wars. They were able to hollow out ice comets in meteors. They created small black holes to pull the comets under directional control, and so were able to use them as weapons. They launched a large ice comet at the solar system.
It appears that one of the specialties of these reptilians is being able to burrow in things. Being able to hollow out and burrow in things. Obviously, we know from the evidence that we have in World War II, and even after World War II, Operation High Jump in Antarctica, that there was something already in Antarctica living in the caves, working in the caves. We know we have this information. Now you can say, oh, this was just the Germans. They had went there. No, stop. Who the fuck taught the Germans all of this shit? There had to be somebody. There was another entity that taught them how to. And if not, I don't believe the Germans just went up there and hollowed out a fucking cave. Are you shitting me? No. There's more to the story than that. I do believe there were some entities already in these places. That would make more sense. That a cold-blooded entity, like reptiles, could exist in these areas, and they would already have known how to burrow and carve out and hollow out these elements of Earth. Now, we know from history, from around the world, every civilization has a story about the snake people. Right? So, in the East, they may call them the Nagas. The snake people, the Nagas, snake people. You come west, you go to South America, they talk about the feathered serpent, Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. Every civilization, the Aboriginal North Americans, who are the Paleo-Siberians, who you call the Native Americans, because it goddamn sure wasn't the white man. They even have stories of serpent people underground. So one thing you can't get away from is the serpent. He's even in your Bible, first book, right off Jump Street. He's right there. I think he appears right in the second chapter. Big stepper, huh? Big stepper, stepping in big. You can't get rid of his presence throughout history nowhere. He's in your medical symbols of the caduceus, right? The intertwined snakes. You can't get rid of this serpent. Can't get rid of the serpent because he's there for a reason. I'm telling you this. So you're only playing with your own cognitions by trying to deny the serpent's presence on this planet.
As it passed Uranus, it caused the planet to flip on its side so that it now rotates horizontally, with its axis tilt at 98 degrees. Footnote: this means that the poles are now parallel to the plane of the solar system, whereas with Earth and the other planets, the poles are perpendicular to the plane of the solar system. So the planet doesn't rotate left to right like Earth. It rotates up to down. For 42 of its years, the South Pole directly faces the Sun, and for 42 years, the North Pole faces the Sun. End footnote. According to an article by Andrew Fazekas, published in the National Geographic News on October 11, 2011, the widely accepted theory for how Uranus got knocked over is that a rogue Earth-sized planet slammed into the ice giant billions of years ago. That lost world was most likely destroyed on impact, but the 27 known moons of Uranus still rotate around its equator. Zechariah Sitchin explains it this way. In simpler words, it means that in all probability, the moons in question of Uranus were created as a result of the collision that knocked Uranus on its side. In press conferences, the NASA scientists were more explicit. A collision with something the size of Earth, traveling at about 40,000 miles per hour, could have done it, they said. According to Gene Moscali, JD, on the website scienceiq.com, scientists are split as to why Uranus rotates horizontally. A popular theory is that Uranus collided with a large planetary body in the early solar system that in effect knocked it on its side. The comet then passed very close to Maldek, which created enormous electromagnetic stress on the planet and caused it to explode. Many of the Maldekians had already taken refuge on Mars as they saw the comet approaching. But most of the inhabitants of Maldek were wiped out. Fragments of the destroyed planet created the asteroid belt. Some of the fragments were captured by the strong magnetic poles of the gas giants Saturn and Jupiter and became moons of those planets. As the comet passed close to Mars, it wreaked havoc with the planet's magnetic field, which had the effect of stripping off some of the atmosphere and vaporizing the oceans.
All right. As he just explained that, I would like to consider another theory, that this planet Nibiru that orbits every 3,600 years, and this is a theory obviously, but if the proximity of that orbit came dangerously close to Earth or close enough to disrupt our electromagnetic field, would it not also create crustal displacement, right? Enough to break apart Pangea and create these different continents. Maybe that's why there was different maps. Maybe not. We wouldn't know because they keep changing our fucking history and then coming up with silly ass reasons for not why they don't teach the new history. So guaranteed in 200 years, no one would even fucking know that the United States had slaves because they would have wiped that shit from existence. But my point is, we would continue to go through these cycles every 3,600 years and restart. So suppose we've been here already, where we had satellites in the sky, all of that. But every time, every 3,600 years, as this planet, because nothing is going to stop that planet from orbiting, but as it orbits, it comes through, resets the planet, which is not hard to do, especially with the type of bullshit material we use to build these buildings and everything. It will be buried deep underground. All of the fragile ass satellites that we put in the sky, all that shit is getting broken up. Morning, Winter. What time is it, Winter? You had your morning tea? Roby says, in fact, that theory is right. The amount of moons a planet has gives sight into how old it is. Okay, Roby. Roby says, I've always believed that the moon was a result of crustal displacement.
Footnote. In the film Total Recall, 1990, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and based on a short story by Philip K. Dick.
Hello? Yes? Oh no, I'm good. Thank you. I'm good. Thank you, bro. All right, you too. Spam. But you know, sometimes they these are. I was a telemarketer at one point in my life. It's a horrible job, but it's all I could get at one point in my life. If one person entertained my nonsense, I was very grateful. You know how many people hung up on me, dead in my face, or cursed me out? You call me during dinner? They just sit there and berate me while some jackass schmuck is listening to the conversation down the hall to make sure that I don't offend them. So, I'm more tolerable. People that call spam. Let's continue on.
1990, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and based on a short story by Philip K. Dick. We Can Remember It For You Wholesale, 1966. Rebels in an underground colony on Mars discover ancient terraforming technology, and they set it in motion. As it cranks up, it begins to restore the Martian atmosphere and makes it breathable. This correlates with Swerdlow's claim that the Martians left to colonize Earth, and therefore must have left the terraforming technology in place, but unused. End footnote. This killed many, and forced the survivors to retreat underground, along with the transplanted Maldekians. In addition, the Martian orbit was pushed farther from the sun, so amazingly, the deadly ice comet achieved its terrible purpose of destroying the human civilization of both Maldek and Mars. It was an astounding attack when one considers that the comet could only have accomplished its destructive effects on those two planets if its launch was timed in perfect coordination with the orbits of both bodies. This required highly sophisticated astronomical expertise. It seems that the reptilians had become very experienced in this type of galactic warfare. Referring to this heavenly body as a comet is very misleading. While it may have acted like a comet in terms of its intrusion into our solar system, there is now clear evidence that it was actually a planet, comparable in size to Earth. Technically, Swerdlow is correct in saying it was a comet, but he then claims that this comet ultimately became the planet Venus, a fact that seems borne out in Central American mythology and by famous theorist Immanuel Velikovsky, author of Worlds in Collision. This makes sense, because only a body of that size could have caused such drastic perturbations on such large planets as Uranus and Mars, and also on Earth, as we will see, and destroyed a planet the size of Maldek. Velikovsky claimed that Venus became a comet after it had been ejected from Jupiter. This would contradict Swerdlow, who claimed that the ice comet entered our solar system in the orbit of Uranus, which would suggest that it probably originated in the Kuiper belt. Although that seems more likely than the Jupiter ejection theory, it would still be very rare for an object of that size and with a perfect globular configuration to inhabit the Kuiper belt, or even the Oort cloud. The more one considers this phenomenon, the more likely it appears that this ice comet may have been an actual planet that was stolen from its orbit around a distant star and brought here by the reptilians. But regardless of its origin, there is extensive astronomical and mythological evidence that the planet Venus was indeed a newcomer to our solar system and was probably Swerdlow's ice comet. The ice planet encounters Earth. In view of the prior information, I believe that we are now justified in referring to Swerdlow's ice comet as the ice planet. As it continued on its destructive trajectory, it next arrived in the vicinity of Earth, where it appeared to slow down and went into orbit around Earth. Actually, it became a mutual orbit, which again testifies to the comet's huge size. Earth began to rotate more quickly, and the comet pulled off much of the water, which vaporized in space. An atmosphere developed around Earth, ice caps formed at the poles, and land masses emerged as the water was removed. Eventually, the ice planet nudged the Earth farther out and took over its orbit. The Earth now settled into its position as the third planet from the Sun and continued its rapid rotation. The two largest land masses that rose out of the oceans ultimately became Lemuria and Atlantis. With its new atmosphere, its more moderate climate, and its new continents, the Earth became very inhabitable. Since Venus was now close to the Sun, its ice melted and formed the cloud cover still visible. In the end, this entire operation gave the reptilians a shiny new planet on which to dwell in this solar system. Therefore, all in one stroke, the reptilians decimated their ancient Lyran enemies on Maldek and Mars and created a home for themselves in the high-rent Goldilocks district of the Sol system. This had to be the neatest trick ever in cosmological evolution, but apparently, for the reptilians, those movers and shakers of worlds and would-be rulers of the galaxy, it was business as usual. Planets as spaceships. In reconsidering this entire event, a completely new explanation presents itself. Swerdlow contributed a major clue when he said that the reptilians had developed the technology to hollow out meteors and comets, and
Easy. Yo, we got like 14 people in the building. Shout you out. Can you do me a favor? I need like 4 more likes. I like even numbers. I have OCD. We definitely want to go for 30 likes on this video. We're doing good with the 26. I'm not going to hold you. You understand? Obviously, you guys you're not giving history on this planet. Not even right now are you giving history. They try to change the history to fit the narrative. And they keep on trying to change it and change it and change it. And then what they do is they get us mixed up with their shenanigans, right? So the black man is running around taking their information, remixing it and shit. Me, for one, I do not believe these people originated from no goddamn mountains, and they was in the mountains so long they turned pale. Knock it off. Knock that shit off, right? That's my theory, though. I could be wrong, but that's what I believe, so I believe I'm right and not wrong. I believe that these people actually originated from another constellation called the Lyran constellation. I believe the black man was designed down here on this planet by not only the Lyrans, but the reptilians. I believe it was a group effort. But I don't believe we was just black. I believe that was just one. I do believe that we were possibly blue and green at one point. But I don't want to go off too crazy. Why do I say that? Well, obviously, the Dravidian people clearly wanted you to see that there existed a blue species down here. And the Egyptian people clearly wanted you to see that there were a green people down here. For they had the colors to make brown or black. And yet, they purposely created these images with the colors they chose. The color is not important. What's important is the technology that is in this body called eumelanin. That is important because it is so powerful that it does protect against the radiation from the sun. And being that if my theory is correct, we would be 2.0, which would make sense why we have this eumelanin, and then why the origins of the originals do not. Now, many black people will be upset with this because they like the narrative that we are the original man. It fits better. It gives us a sense of pride. Well, you can still consider yourself the original man on earth. But clearly, your Bible says that you was created by some powerful beings, more powerful than you. That's what the book say. It says the Elohim said, let us create man in our image. Who is the Elohim? Well, that was more powerful than you, goddammit. That's all you need to know. But in fact, they might have been a council. Is the council any different than a federation? That's a good question, Jamal. I never thought about that. Well, the reason I'm asking is I know there exists something called the Galactic Federation of Light. Could this Galactic Federation of Light be similar to a divine council that is mentioned in the Bible? That is for you to answer. All I wanted was 4 more likes, to be honest with you. 3 more likes now. That's all I wanted. 3 more likes. Uncle Andy, what is good? Uncle Andy is in the building. We got John, who says the Garden of Eden was in Mesopotamia around the modern day Iraq. Possibly. Possibly. John, where do the rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates fork, John? I don't got my peepers. I think that says John Fritz. We need 2 more likes. We need 2 more likes. Let me get the peepers out. Yeah, I found my peepers, y'all. They was on top of my lunchbox the whole time. I'm looking for them like a madman, and they was on top of my lunchbox. Yes, they were. Get the peepers out here. Lil Foots was good, beloved. Now, John Fitzgerald says, John Fritz, where was the fork in the road? Tell me the area of the fork in the road of the Tigris and the Euphrates, John. Because it would make sense that, and I'm only thinking logical here. I am no superior being. Right? I'm part of I'm descendants of the 2.0 version of humanity for this planet. Hence my melanation. But if I was a superior being, like an Enki or Enlil, and I was to create a Garden of Eden, it would be in a fertile crescent. Would it not? The same place that Dr. York found in America. He found the Fertile Crescent in America, and that's where he purchased 500 acres of land. Anyway, I digress. Somebody get back to me and tell me, where does the Euphrates and the Tigris fork, please? Uncle Andy says 6,000 or 8,000 years ago, they laid down the law in Mesopotamia. Yeah. That is true. Shout out to King Hammurabi. But somebody get back to me. First of all, somebody hit one more like button, and then somebody get back to me where the Tigris and Euphrates fork. Now, let us get back to this.
And use them as weapons. We have already heard that they had the capability of fabricating globular, planet-sized spaceships called Death Stars. But now we learn that the reptilians also had the technology for using actual planets as spaceships, which they had probably learned from the Wolfen people. Evidently, the reptilians found a likely uninhabited candidate planet somewhere in the galaxy, probably in Draco, and hollowed it out. Footnote: our astronomers have now identified many planets in our galaxy that are not in solar systems centered around a sun or star. Apparently, they remain warmed from within, and they continue to stay alive as they wander aimlessly through the galaxy. They are referred to as rogue planets. End footnote. They then moved into its interior and essentially turned it into a spaceship under intelligent control. It truly became a natural Death Star, thus complementing their already existing fabricated Death Star fleet. It is very likely they brought with them a complete ecological system, along with living dinosaurs, their primary food source, somewhere in the bowels of the planet. They then drove it across space to the Sol system. It accumulated an ice cover in its journey across the galaxy. Living comfortably in the interior, they were not exposed to the radiation, extreme temperatures, and other hazards of space travel. They were thus able to guide the comet to destroy Maldek and cripple Mars. Very possibly, they fired some sort of superweapon, perhaps a particle beam, at Maldek as it came near. This was probably the very same technique that they used to destroy Bila, Tika, and Marok in the Lyran system. Then, as the comet approached the sun, they slowed it down and drove it into orbit around Earth, and somehow pushed Earth farther out into a new orbit. As Earth dried out, they prepared it for habitation, traveling back and forth from the ice comet, now Venus. Living in the interior of Venus, they were able to remain away from the intense heat on the surface. From this, we can see that George Lucas probably did have the whole story, and perhaps that is why Star Wars struck such a popular chord. Maybe, just maybe, those audiences who stood up and cheered at the premiere of Star Wars at Grauman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood in 1977 were on Maldek or Mars in a previous incarnation, and they remembered how they stared up helplessly at the sky as the ice planet loomed ominously above and approached. And that's why they cheered when Luke Skywalker fired the fatal shot that blew the Death Star to smithereens. Part 2. Reptilian Colonies on Earth, from Genesis to the Roman Empire. Chapter 7. Genesis. Now able to use Venus as a base of operations in the solar system, the Draco were ready to begin colonizing Earth. However, Venus was too distant for frequent trips. They needed a more convenient encampment from which to terraform Earth with flora and fauna. They decided to create a moon of Earth, but instead of using an existing sphere as with Venus, they constructed an artificial planet. Swerdlow says, "The moon is an artificial object, and it is hollow. When a sonic resonance is sent to the surface of the moon, it pings similar to glass, like a hollow object. It does not thump like a solid object. The moon does not spin or rotate. It is a fixed object, with one side always facing the Earth. The moon's orbit is mechanically fixed, It needs no corrections.
That is kind of weird. But I guess we pay that no mind, right? Because there'll always be some type of scientific rhetoric explanation, right? No matter what it is, people find pyramids on Mars. Oh no, it's for this reason here. Why doesn't the moon rotate? No, it does. They're always going to interject confusion. I'm not a big group thinker. I don't just go along with whatever people say. Like, I like to do my own research. And the more I do that, I find out there's so much I didn't know. So much. But the more I do that it is also disheartening because it does something to me mentally, right? Because you spend 3 decades thinking you know something, only for you to find out that was all lies, right? And then the biggest heartbreak is the fact that there's nobody you can tell because most of the people are indoctrinated. So you're actually going to hurt yourself by trying to expose the truth, right? You are not the majority. So now you just look like some rogue conspiracy theorist. Is it worth being ostracized by your community? So now you're forced to become part, if you can even find a silo like mine, society, past, present, and future, where you don't seem like a weirdo amongst your people, right? But being able to find these silos, they're not always easy to find. Especially a silo with no expectations. Over here, all we ask is that you spare the little children. I don't like no type of all of that. If you believe in any PDF, I ain't with none of that. If you out here like Corey Holcomb, beating on women and talking down on kids, we ain't doing none of that over here. You can take that over to Corey Holcomb's channel. You understand? I do believe the man, once he find a woman, he find her for a good thing. But remember, you chose that woman. Not to have sex with, you chose that woman to partner with. I'm not talking about any woman you found and then you decided to procreate because you wasn't responsible, like you was some fucking little kid out here just having sex with like you didn't know the consequences of having sex. So I do believe we have to return to those rules and those laws in our cultures that kept civilization stable. And purposeful procreation is part of culture, right? When you say, I am going to have a child with this partner and we will be a family. These reptilians, it's not just about them eating kids and drinking blood. They are evil people that will have you behave. They get excitement out of seeing you act other than yourself, right? I think some things are just innate. I do believe that. I do believe that if you live by yourself and you've never seen a woman and you was butt naked, I believe your Johnson would just get hard. You're going to figure that shit out. I don't think nobody got to teach you none of that. You'll figure that shit out. So what these evil beings like to do is do the opposite of what comes natural. And then they like to normalize that. So it is not my business what you do in the bedroom. I will not stop being your friend. I will not stop being your family, right? But I will not stop saying it is a sexual deviancy, because that's what it is, right? That is not to say I hate you. That is not to say I ain't cool with you no more, you gay. Whatever you do with your fucking body parts is your business. You understand? I will say it is a deviancy. And you may say, yeah, it's a deviancy, but that's my thing. And I say, okay, nigga, fuck you explaining to me for? That's your thing. That's your thing. But I am not in the business of delusion. I don't do delusion. So let's just call it what it is. It is a deviancy. You are okay with the deviancy. If you like it, I love it for you. The only thing I ask is that you suffer the little children, and because you are part of a deviancy, do not tell a child or try to encourage a child to, and let's leave children out of this. Let them make their own decision. That's what I ask. How do we know this is a deviancy? Well, it does not. It is not consistent with nature. Right? Two women that scissor each other and lapping up the carpet juice. That's not gonna procreate. It may feel good. Two men, you're not gonna have a child doing that. Whatever y'all doing, y'all not gonna have a child together. So this is why I use the term deviancy. It is not for you to be upset at me and be like, oh, you over there just yo. Knock it off, bro. Knock it off. I didn't judge you. I said what you're doing is a sexual deviancy. This is a fact. And I just ask that you leave children out of it. You a grown fucking person. Imagine me telling you what to do with your fucking body. Are you shitting me? But as a man in this community, I'm going to have to insist, not ask, insist that you leave children alone. And I am here to protect a woman, so please refrain from beating her ass in front of me. That's what I would ask. Thank you. Let us carry on.
It stays in the same layer of space due to mass and gravitational pull. It is a vehicle parked in space, like a satellite, and without a magnetic field. The Draco colonized Earth from this vehicle. Presumably, the Draco were able to transfer the entire ecosystem that they brought with them from Draco to the moon, so that it could then be transferred piecemeal to Earth. The dinosaurs were particularly important because the reptilians relied on them as a food source. They placed the moon at the precise distance that permitted it to be viewed from Earth, as exactly the same size as the sun. This made it possible to use solar and lunar eclipses as timing devices. The Draco began colonizing the huge mid-Pacific continent of Lemuria about 1 million years ago. As the first race to occupy the Earth, the reptilians considered it their planet. There were no humans on Earth for hundreds of thousands of years. The human refugees from Lyra, both Martian and Maldekian, continued to live underground on Mars during that period. The Martian atmosphere was too thin to support surface habitation. Meanwhile, the 110 Lyran refugee colonies had formed an alliance to join forces in defense against continued reptilian attacks. They referred to this organization as the Galactic Federation of Light, or the Collective, and they remained interested and involved with the fate of the human Lyra expatriates throughout the galaxy. The Federation members, by combining resources, successfully repelled reptilian attacks on their adopted planets. Only 3 former Lyran groups refused to join the Federation. These civilizations just could not adapt to their new refugee status and sought to recreate the lost glories of the old Lyran constellation. They were considered to be extremists. One of these 3 was the Atlans, inhabiting a planet in the Pleiades. The Pleiadians viewed them as troublemakers, since they contributed nothing to the Federation. They petitioned the Federation to resettle this group in another star system. Since the Atlans were known to be courageous and unafraid of the reptilians, the Federation decided to move the Atlans to Earth.
So, this galactic history that we're listening to actually aligns with the rhetoric that Madame Helena Blavatsky spoke about. Also, Hitler. If you remember, Hitler was obsessed with blonde-haired, blue-eyed white people. Was he not? Is that not what he was known for? Obsessed. He wanted them. Why? Why them? Well, he felt these were the original people. What did he call them? What did he call them? He called them the master race. I didn't hear a lot of rhetoric about Hitler being overly prejudiced against black people. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Not saying he wasn't prejudiced. I just didn't hear a lot of rhetoric about that. Something may come out where he's out here spewing the N-word. I don't know. But I understand what he means today by the master race. And it didn't mean what you probably thought it meant. He meant, y'all came from us. When they redid the 2.0, they used us as a template. Now, not necessarily him. He obviously, somewhere along the lines, is part of these Caucasian people, these Atlans, these white people, somewhere along the lines. But he does not have blonde hair. He does not have blue eyes, right? So there was a mutation somewhere, and it did not come from no fucking mountain. But suppose it just came from a fucking Atlantean finding a new melanated creature attractive. Suppose it just came from that. God damn it. If I wasn't married, you don't think I would hunt down Marjorie Taylor Greene and fucking try to procreate with her? I would. But she's like 60 now. But she's not having no kids anytime soon. My point is, I find other races attractive. Fuck what these people talking about. I'm not gonna lie to you. I can sit up here and talk that pro-black shit till I'm blue in the face. But I find other women attractive from other races too. That's the truth. Let's keep listening.
They reasoned that if the Atlans survived such a direct provocation to the reptilians, they would constitute a foothold on the Earth and could be the first line of attack against the reptilian colonists on the Earth. which could then be supported by other Federation forces later. This might make it possible to eject the reptilians entirely from the sole solar system. In other words, the Federation moved these uncooperative slackers to the front lines to get them involved in a big way in the struggle against the reptilians. It was a brilliant strategy. The Atlans colonized the mid-Atlantic continent, which then became known as Atlantis.
So now you have these Atlans who don't really care for no fucking body. Definitely not the reptiles. They are a prideful people who don't take shit. And they're in an area called Atlantis, but it sounds like the reptilians are located in the geographic area of Lemuria, which today it makes sense where that land has disappeared, but it would have been in the east. That's where you get the most prominent stories of the Nagas people to this day, the snake people. Now, why these people would just make up a fucking story about having snake people underground is, you got me, right? If you think that's what happened, they just made this shit up. But I don't think they just made it up. Oh, your wife is blonde hair, blue eyed? Where she think she come from, Roby? The mountains? Shit. That's what she thinking? Hold on. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's only my theory, Roby. You understand? It's only my theory.
Meanwhile, there were conflicts between the two underground civilizations on Mars, and the Martians petitioned the Federation to remove the Maldekians to another planet. The Federation viewed this as another golden opportunity to surround the reptilians on Earth with motivated reptilian opponents. The Maldekians had suffered the extreme trauma of losing ancestors and friends in the brutal reptilian destruction of their home planet. Even though they were several generations removed from those catastrophes, they would have, no doubt, appreciated the chance to wreak vengeance on the perpetrators. The Federation sent the Maldekians to colonize Earth. They took over the area known as the Gobi Desert, which was then a lush, tropical area, as well as parts of northern India and Asia. The humans fight back. As the Federation expected, the old hatreds persisted, percolating up from the Atlan DNA, perhaps reinforced by stories passed on from generation to generation about the desecrations in Lyra. Possibly even more than the Maldekians, the Atlans also detested the reptilians. This new planet was too small for these arch-enemies, and wars broke out. The Atlans were a fierce human race, and the battles were many. The dinosaurs were a major source of contention. These huge beasts rampaged over Atlantean agricultural areas, devouring the crops. Finally, the Atlans began killing them. Swerdlow says, the Atlanteans despised these destructive animals, so they used electromagnetic pulse weapons to kill them. This is the real truth of why dinosaurs, mammoths, and other prehistoric creatures abruptly became extinct. The Maldekians attacked the reptilian lunar colonies. The underground Martians also entered the fray in the effort to remove the reptilians from this solar system. They too began attacking the reptilians on the moon to destroy the lunar outposts guarding their Earth settlements. In the Code to the Matrix, James Evans Bomar says, this might be considered the real First World War of the world. It was a mess. But it really was not a mess at all. Upon reviewing the entire situation now in retrospect, it becomes abundantly clear that the Federation was orchestrating the whole campaign. The reptilians on Earth were now at a distinct disadvantage. They found themselves in a very precarious predicament. The conflict they had initiated by attacking Maldek and Mars had now resulted in their isolation in a distant solar system surrounded by humans. Humans who had learned to defend themselves by the development of high-tech weaponry and space technology, who were not afraid of the Draco bullies. The human colonists were strongly motivated to destroy them, and they now had powerful allies all over the galaxy. The worm had turned. The primary reptilian food source was destroyed, and there was no help available from Draco. They could no longer just invade and take whatever they wanted. They now had to negotiate to survive.
So, as we deal with the presence of the reptilians down here on this planet, and as many of us know, they are here. They are here. They are here. Roseanne Barr tried to tell us. Monique tried. There's so many stars that tried to tell us, and then some are scared, because what do you do when you realize actual other entities are here? They can shapeshift. They have a lot of power. You probably shut the fuck up. You probably don't say anything. But there's some that don't care. They're like, whatever. You understand? Shout out to those people. Shout out to Joan Rivers, who told us that Barack Obama's wife is a guy. I don't know nothing about that. But Joan Rivers said Barack Obama is a homosexual. Not that that has anything to do with anything. Unless you run on the premise that you are a married man when in fact your wife is a tranny. I don't know. I cannot corroborate that. That's all Joan Rivers' business. I do believe, though, these reptilians are down here on the planet. Winter says, if cats have eyes like snakes, why are they considered our spiritual protectors? That's a good answer. That's a good question. Steven says, where's Joan Rivers now? She's dead. Dead as a doorknob. I don't know why people say dead as a doorknob. It's not a good analogy. Dead as a doorknob. That's a very bad analogy. But nonetheless, she is dead, Steven. Oh, that's Stephanie. That's Stephanie Williams. Yeah, sorry, I don't got my peepers on. Let me turn my peepers on. I think that's Stephanie Williams. Stephanie Williams. Yes, it is Stephanie. What's up, Steph? She's dead, Steph. Talking too much. Talking too much. Now, I just mentioned this because I want us to understand there's a Prodigy said from Mobb Deep, there's a war going on outside no man is safe from. You can run, but you can't hide from ever from these streets that we done took. Walk around and look, you shook. You know such things as Wayne Brooks. There's a war going on outside. There is a war. So it appears the struggle is real. Now, I'm not going to hold you. I don't know who be on the light and who be on the dark at times, right? And what is predestined and what is not. Because let's keep it real. It seemed like Donald Trump was dead set on making America great again. It seemed like everything was in place. So either one, that was the plan to fool everybody, to make it seem like he was really going to make America great again. And then once he got everyone support. He's like, fuck that, I was just tricking you. Or the other option is he really did feel like that, but they have a control file on him, so he probably felt like, yo, I can't let that get out. Like, it's one thing for you to read that I was in the Epstein files. It's a whole nother thing for you to be looking at a picture of me giving Bill Clinton a blowjob. These are two different things, my friend. And I will do whatever I need to do so that you don't see that picture, right? So if I need to give all this money to Israel, and these Khazarians who masquerade as Judeans, then that is what I will do. But to simplify things, there is a battle going on between dark and light. So keep your wits about you. Because they will need soldiers of light when the time comes. I don't know nothing about when Jesus returns. I don't know nothing about that. I do think Nibiru will return every 3,600 years, according to the Dogon tribe. You understand? Every 3,600 years, this bitch will reset. It will not matter if Jesus comes with the planet, because the planet will interrupt the electromagnetic force field on this planet, thus disrupting everything. Fucking tidal waves, everything that we see here will be destroyed, and we will have to start over from the beginning. Those that are deep in the ground, underground, will be saved as they always are, and they will repopulate the earth. Let's keep going.
The Hatona Council. Since the fighting was basically at a stalemate, the Federation initially sought to develop a peaceful civilization on the Earth to give the Atlan and Maldekian humans time and space to evolve and gain a larger population. They decided to convene a neutral council on the planet Hatona in the Andromeda Galaxy. All the parties interested in the Earth civilization were represented. This convocation was a sort of victory in itself for the Federation. It appeared to elicit an agreement by the reptilians that they would grant ownership of the planet to a newly created race, although everyone knew that reptilian agreements were worthless. Bomar says, the Hatona Council convened for many decades as the fighting continued in the solar system. Finally, an agreement was reached between some of the human factions and the reptilian Earth colonists.
Let's stop. The Hatona Council. What is mentioned in your Bible? What is mentioned in your Bible? In your Bible, it mentions a what? A divine council. Does it not? Does it not mention a divine council in your Bible? Could this divine council be the Hatona Council? Well, let's keep listening and see if there is any similarities between the stories in the Bible and what we're listening to right now.
Keep in mind that this agreement was without the participation of the reptilians from the original Draco Empire. Thus, these reptilians had no permission from High Command and were acting solely on their conniving interest. The agreement stated that a new breed of humanity should be created on Earth that would contain the DNA of all interested parties who participated in the peace process.
Genesis 1:26. In the Elohim. Stop. What is an Elohim? My good sir, It's not that what is an Elohim, it is who is an Elohim. And the Elohim is a body in a group of superior beings, powerful ones, more than one. And the Elohim said, let us make man in our image, in our likeness. Yes? Okay. So, for one, you was lied to. For one, you were lied to. If you practice Judaism, you was lied to. If you practice Christianity, you were lied to. If you practice Islam, you were lied to. Because the book does not say that one God said, let us create man. No. This word was repurposed to fit monotheism later on. You cannot just do willy-nilly shit when you feel like doing it and then saying this is the work of God. What fucking God is this? This is the work of you, man. This is the work of you and your bullshit to control. That is the work. Yeah. You put that in there. You created this whole monotheistic idea of the word. In fact, you dogmatically insisted that the word was repurposed to fit a monotheistic ideology. How is that fair to the rest of mankind? Well, we're not talking about fairness here. We're talking about what needs to be done. Well, I don't want to partake in your dogmatic tomfoolery. Thank you. Thank you, but no thank you. I would prefer to come over here to my little small YouTube channel and reveal unto the people the hypocrisy and the lies that have been laid before them and educate them. I do say enlighten them, just like the serpent snake who enlightened Eve and Adam, that surely you shall not die if you are given the knowledge of good and evil. Allegorically, you will die. You will no longer be the imbecile that you once was. So what say you watching me today? Are you ready for a new life? In Christ? In the Christos? Are you ready for a new life? Or would you prefer to remain in darkness, ignorant of the truth? Because there is no truth there. Because you cannot build a house on sinking sand. The foundation needs to be strong. And already they started off wrong when they told you they swapped out the word for the powerful beings and they put one being in there. A being, by the way, who came from absolutely fucking nowhere, I assure you. Yahweh. Are you shitting me? Winter says, what if the Bible is not a prediction, but more like a fable where it shows you what'll happen if we don't change instead of predicting what is going to happen? Are you referring to Revelations? Winter? I can take that into consideration. I listen. I think so. No. So you are an atheist. I didn't say I was an atheist. Answer your question, no. I'm not an atheist. I probably don't believe in your God. If you believe in Yahweh, I believe your God is a bullshit God, is what I believe. And you cannot prove me wrong that Yahweh is not a bullshit God. Yahweh is 1,000% a bullshit God that came from nowhere, who has no history. He came from the peninsula of Sinai. Sinai is the moon god mound. The moon god mound. Sin was a moon god. I am not an atheist. Well, welcome, sir. Welcome. Atheists are invited over here. Huh? The only thing I don't invite over here are pedophiles. Now, if you are a pedophile atheist, I would gladly ask you to leave, good sir. Actually, I strip you of the title good and just tell you to get the fuck out of here. But you carry the same principles as me. I don't care that you're an atheist. I don't have any religion to push on you. I have no religion to push on you. None.
A designated area on Earth would be set aside for the creation of this new species. The Earth-based reptilians of Lemuria agreed to this under the condition that the reptilian body be the foundation for this new being. This was a critical stipulation. The reptilians believed that if the beings of the new race had fundamental reptilian DNA, they could be easily mind-controlled from the lower fourth dimension by sympathetic vibration. This did have the intended consequences. However, as will be seen, it also rebounded to the detriment of the reptilians, since it made the new human species more resilient, thus allowing them to defend themselves successfully against reptilian attacks and encroachments. Be fruitful and multiply.
Yes, sir.
The area that was chosen for this new experiment was southeastern Turkey, at the origins of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers.
I asked you guys earlier and no one answered me. Where was the fork of the Tigris and the Euphrates river? Nobody answered me. You understand? Could this have been Eden? Now, I've seen some people in the chat, yo, Eden started in Mesopotamia. I didn't argue with you because I didn't necessarily disagree with you guys. Oh, Roby did? Littlefoot's? Oh, okay. Thank you, Winter. Winter says Littlefoot's and Roby did answer me, which sounds appropriate. Sounds like those two guys would. You got to remember, the people who call themselves Hebrews, which we still don't really know who the fuck these people are. We know who they are, but what does that mean to be a Hebrew, right? It means to cross over. That's not enough, right? Who are these people? As I've explained, I think these people are exiled people from Egypt who ended up mashing up with the Canaanites in a clan called the Hebrew people. And somehow these people were created somehow. Though we do understand that they was in captivity for hundreds of years. And through this captivity, they lost themselves. They were thrown in with some different cultures. They were involved in different cultures. So you had some synchronizations of different cultures going on while they were captive, right? When they were released, eventually, by the Persians, I believe, I do believe it was the Persians that captured the Babylonians, and thus the Babylonians had the rest of the, in the story anyway, had the rest of these Hebrews. They say, all right, you can go back to where you came, from. So that these people had to put shit back together. So you had the Pharisees and the Sadducees actually trying to remake the story, freestyling, right? God knows how they put these stories back together. From reading the Talmud is nasty work. Let's just start there. Right? So we don't know where their mindset was at. We don't know what type of perversions they brought back from these different cultures. We don't know if they even started off perverted. We don't know much about these fucking people. They were freestylers at best from Jump Street, stealing people's other stories and applying them to themselves so that they would seem more valid. I don't think the Hebrews were a valid fucking people. I think they were a rogue, exiled group of banshees from Egypt and ended up in Canaan mixing with the Hebrews, and shit just kind of just like went off on its own. Now their God, Yahweh, was not part of the Canaanite pantheon at all. Yet he wanted the power. This Yahweh wanted the power. He wanted the status of an El. He wanted the status of a Baal. So eventually Baal became the greatest fucking enemy of Yahweh. To this day, people run around, these people worship Baal, as if Yahweh's any fucking better. Have you read the stories of Yahweh? Yahweh sent a group of people to Canaan and said, go kill all those people. That is your rightful land. How, Yahweh? How is that these people's rightful land? Just because you say it so don't make it true. Who the fuck are you though? Who sent you, bro? Who sent you? What pantheon have you ever belonged to? None. You come from the sin of I, the moon god mound, Sinai Peninsula of Egypt. How the fuck are you in Canaan though, bro? Giving orders of telling people, yo, just go in there. Actually, the orders was go in there and even kill the people in the community before you even get to them, and leave nothing. Kill the women, kill everything. How is that different? If these are the people of today claiming that Palestine is their land, then we see that nothing is fucking different. They are still acting the same as that Yahweh told them to act all those years ago in the book. So it makes sense why they don't see it as genocide that they would tell. But what gets more crazier is that the people that's doing this are not even related to the Judeans. These are a fucking rogue people who are actually Khazarians masquerading as Canaanites and Judeans. This shit is crazy. Identity theft like a motherfucker. Crazy. Everyone is running around pretending they somebody else. If I didn't see it for myself, I wouldn't believe it. But you got a group of people here in America that are Nubians insisting that they are fucking Moors, when in fact the Nubian, Ethiopian, the black men that they are, You did not start the fucking Moors. But when you tell them now, you can't, because they emotionally invested, so they gonna come with all this fucking rhetoric that they found on the internet that will insist that we are fucking Moors, we the Moorish people. Shut up! Shut up! Motherfucker, when the Moors started, the Nubians wasn't even a part of that association. Fuck are you talking about? You guys, you came in the second wave as they were spreading their ideology and their movement. Then you got down or laid down, just like everybody else. Get down or lay down, bitch. And you got down. So yeah, you have some famous Moors like Tariq from the Rock of Gibraltar. Yeah, I get it, I understand. I can go back and forth with you. Yeah, he was African, no duh. But what the teachers that are teaching you are not going to tell you is that wasn't the first wave of Moors. Right? So I say all that to say identity crisis is a big thing. People will latch onto something as they feel the need to, if they feel it's going to get them to a certain spot. We didn't just see European people do this with the Khazaris, but we also seen the black people do this with the movement. They associate themselves with Morocco, and yeah, we all Moroccan. How the fuck we all Moroccans? Are you shitting me right now? But it's going to fit your narrative because you want sovereignty in the United States, and you see the peace treaty shit going on between Morocco and the United States, and you're going to find a loophole to get in there. So now, but guess what? You left a bunch of descendants here on this planet that they not going to look no further than what you said. You said they was Moors, so now here they are with no scholars, no scholarly evidence, none of that. It's all rhetoric to fit their narrative. Nobody wants to admit, nobody is going to break down everything that they believe in because that would strip them of the little identity they have. And if I got to get stripped of the little identity I have, I might be vulnerable again, and I don't want to be vulnerable again. But if you take the risk of clearing out everything, empty the fucking bowl out, and then stack the bricks bit by bit with more, my people perish for lack of knowledge. Now let's get some more knowledge going. Let's go. We're talking about the Hatona Council. We're talking about the fact that the reptilians agreed to create a new being. Yes, a new being, along with the Maldekians and the Pleiadians, really the Atlanteans, to create a new being, which I believe that would be you.
This did have the intended consequences. However, as will be seen, it also rebounded to the detriment of the reptilians, since it made the new human species more resilient, thus allowing them to defend themselves successfully against reptilian attacks and encroachments. Be fruitful and multiply. The area that was chosen for this new experiment was southeastern Turkey, at the origins of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, where they flowed down from the Taurus Mountains in the Caucasus. This was the biblical Garden of Eden. That area was probably in Maldekian hands, since it was close to their areas of settlement. It was a long way from Lemuria. Each of the 13 contributors sought to make their DNA dominant. Consequently, the new man was conflicted right from the start. However, the major responsibility for coordinating the effort was placed in the hands of a group from the collective known as the Elohim, literally the gods, who are highly evolved humans known to be master geneticists. But the reptilians were also geneticists, with thousands of years of experience. In the Bible, the Hebrew word Elohim is used as though it was singular as the word for God. Actually, Hebraic words ending in im are always plural. Plurality, or the gods, is clearly implied in chapter 1 of Genesis, wherein it says, Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Since we know now that the Federation held all the cards, they decided on the new human form. Genesis says further, so God, the Elohim, created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, the Elohim, he created them. Male and female he created them. God, the Elohim, blessed them, and said to them, be fruitful, and increase in number. Fill the earth, and subdue it. This tallies with Swerdlow's account where he says that the new race was intended to grow quickly and to take over the planet. So the human method of reproduction was chosen over the reptilian. This explains the importance of God saying, male and female he created them, thus clearly differentiating the human and the reptilian. The reptilians reproduce by laying eggs, which can be fertilized. Footnote: according to the website www.cuteness.com, female reptiles store sperm for up to 6 years to use for future eggs, according to Wisman. That means the female can produce, fertilize, and lay her own eggs without the aid of a male, as long as she has stored sperm from a previous male encounter. End footnote. This description of human creation is contradicted by the Adam and Eve story related in chapter 2 of Genesis, where God is referred to in the singular as the Lord God, and Eve was said to have been created from one of Adam's ribs. These two Genesis accounts of human creation are fundamentally different. This second account seems to endorse male dominance over the female, rather than the gender equality espoused in chapter 1, and appears to be a later addition. The command that, he shall rule over thee, sounds like it might have been of reptilian origin, since the reptilians inhabiting Earth had become a patriarchal society in defiance of the Queen and Orion. Furthermore, the Adam and Eve story refers to sexual relations as a curse and introduces the serpent who gave man knowledge of sexual reproduction in defiance of God. This makes it appear that the reptilians were helpful to man, thus establishing sympathy for the devil. This is ludicrous, since the Elohim were highly motivated to have the humans reproduce quickly. Apparently, the author of this paragraph wanted the listener to believe that a whimsical God intended Adam and Eve to just stroll around the Garden of Eden, naked for eternity. Also, the statement that it was God who created the enmity between humans and the serpent was apparently intended to blame the Elohim for the hostility between the humans and the reptilians. The entire Adam and Eve account of human creation in Genesis 2 is anti-God, and thus anti-Elohim, and sounds suspiciously like it might have been of reptilian origin, inserted in a later edition of the Bible. This is not surprising, since the entire Bible, but especially the Old Testament, went through many versions and translations before the King James Version in 1604. The entire Genesis authorship has been attributed to Moses, but it is highly unlikely that he would have written two such different accounts of the creation of the human race. The creation process went through several models that were not successful and were either destroyed or left to die out. This accounts for the various short-lived human prototypes, such as Homo erectus, Neanderthal, Cro-Magnon, and so forth.
Moses is an Egyptian name, by the way, Akhmosis. So none of that shit is. Anyway, I digress. Let me put on my peepers. Morning, everyone. Morning. I'm gonna get out of here. I gotta call my wife back. We did this for 3 hours. I appreciate everyone coming over and listening. The moral of the story is this, though. Let me leave you with this. There are reptilians down here. Roseanne Barr is not bugging. She said they drink blood. We already knew this, but every time they try to come out with a different method of silencing us. So immediately when Pizzagate started to take flight, and the stories of the adrenochrome and the Clintons being involved and Ellis DeGeneres, the first thing they did was put something in place talking about misinformation and disinformation and malinformation. It was something to get you thrown off, right? To help with censorship. And then they took their time, and then they added something else, fact checkers. So they always want to make it seem like you are the one that is delusional. I just did this show today so that you would know you are not delusional. Stand the fight. Stand your ground. Protect your consciousness. That is another way to... You have to be aware. You have to be aware. One, you have to be aware of the tools that are used against you. These are not imbeciles. These are not idiots. They are highly technically advanced species. You understand? And they're trying to plan it out how to really lock down everybody at one time so they don't have to go back and forth. But if they could get everyone under their control at one time, I believe that would be the perfect time to reveal themselves. But first, they have to make it happen. And they are very patient people. These are cold-blooded species. They have the patience. One thing they do is have patience. So, don't think, oh, it's me bugging, No. You have been lied to. Your religions have lied to you. Your historians have lied to you. None of them will tell you the truth. Trust your intuition. Energy cannot be destroyed or created. It could only be transferred. So, where are the souls of the people who have moved on? We know their body have returned to the earth. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Their bodies have returned. However, that you are a duality. You are not only spirit, but you are flesh. You are carnal and you are spirit. You have to understand your dualism. That is the part of science that they don't want to discuss. So science will always be able to discuss the physicality, the tangible. But science, if you notice, they stop like it is like the vampires that they are, and you didn't invite them in, and they gotta stop right there when it comes to the other part of your reality, of your duality, which is the spiritual part. That spiritual soul. They acknowledge something is there. Even they have done the scientific studies that when you die, they have weighed people. They have put people on a bed to weigh them. And they said when the person that dies, they weigh just a tiny bit less, right? Insinuating that the spirit had matter and it did somehow also apply to their existence, right? And there was a weight to that spirit. But they won't really elaborate and get into it because they can't explain it. And scientists hate when they can't explain something. They absolutely hate it. Michael Wilbur says it is 1 ounce. 1 ounce. He says it's the last breath. Maybe. Even if I combat that, it would only be my theory. You understand? But I do believe, Mike, that we are a duality. You understand? And maybe, I'm not saying it is, but those things that you can't explain, those divine things that you can't explain, why couldn't it be your ancestors? Why couldn't it be another dimension from the fourth, another entity from the fourth dimension? You cannot see every spectrum of radiance from the sun down here. You cannot see it. So your optics are only set to see certain things. Why couldn't there be another entity that where their presence in optics is set to see even more frequencies? We can't see radio waves. Not me and you. We can't see radio waves. That doesn't mean that there's not an entity that cannot see radio waves. Or any of the other frequencies. So what if there is a spiritual side to someone and they, because they don't have a body, doesn't mean they're not there. Doesn't mean that spirit, or what should I say, is not there. I don't know. That is a theory. I'm not saying I'm right. What I will say is, I don't believe your intuition is made up nonsense. So trust in your intuition sometime. Trust in it. Michael Wilbur says humans can't live in the clouds. I didn't say the clouds. And once you're a spirit, you would not be considered a human. I didn't say the clouds. I don't believe in heaven and I don't believe in hell. I didn't say the clouds. And once you became a spirit, you would not be considered human. That doesn't mean a spirit doesn't exist. That doesn't mean that you are not created of a duality. You understand? Now, it is very possible that what we call a spirit is nothing more than our own unique electromagnetic footprint on this planet. However, it would still be energy. It would still be information in that energy. The first law to universal law is all is one. So you have put your stamp on that energy. Where is that energy now? So even if this body fell apart, that your body is consistently creating something that you call an aura. It consistently creates it from one atom moving to the information moving to the next. This synapses creates a electrical spark. Well, actually I said that wrong. One electron moving to the next. So, with this spark that's happening and so many sparks at one time, I believe that this creates this electromagnetic field within us. Now, this is your own unique field. Now, if you was to drop dead right now, that field still has to, something has to happen to that field. There's information in that field. Now, we don't know what happens to that information, but to that field, it has to go somewhere. Where did it go? Now, it is your personal field. You are no longer a human, but that is your personal field that was actually created when you was alive. Where is it now? It has information. So what me and you don't know is if that field stick around for a while, how long it stick around. We don't know. We don't know if it still feels and yearns to what it was used to be connected to. So you say, oh, I felt the spirit of my grandmother. We don't know if that person's bugging out. What do you mean, Mike? Mike says, what's the electrical current in the call? I think I understand your your question, and my answer would be the same as yours. Your aura. Oh, okay. He says in the oh, the mitochondriac, the energy. Yeah, yeah. I'm with you, winner. I'm with you. I'm inclined because one thing I know, Winter, that your mind is not your brain. You understand? Your mind is not your brain. The brain is the physicality tool that we use on this planet, that we allow our mind to connect to on this planet. So I'm with you on that. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that being said, let me try to catch my wife. Thanks for everybody for coming through today. It was a great build. You understand? I don't know what the reptilians are going through right now. I don't believe that Queen Elizabeth, the Queen, was straight up humanoid. For some reason, I believe she was a reptilian. She looked like a reptilian, but I don't want to insult. Just throw out obscenities, but she did. She did look like she reminded me of a reptilian. But that's just my personal preference. But I think we were going to see a lot of things unfold in the future. And I really just did this show just to make you feel normal. So you know you not bugging. And there's a community over here that, will hear you out. You are safe over here as long as you're not a pedophile. That's a fact. All right, everybody. Roby's out to the vet. Michael's off to the vet. Shout out to Roby. Shout out to Winner. Shout out to everybody, Littlefoot. Shout out to everybody that came through. Uncle Andy shouted out. You understand? Shout out to the whole society. Shout it out. Shout out to the new people that came through today. Shout out to the people in the bushes that was just watching. I appreciate everybody that came through. You made the show a good show. You understand? So that being said, I can't tell you when I'll be back. You understand? I'm watching what's going on. I'm paying attention. I come back as needed. You understand? There's a lot of different topics I do be wanting to talk about, but we'll get into it as it sees fit. Anyway, you guys be safe out there. All right? Peace out.